Is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Blackmore. We are Houston.
Opening day 2011 is only 2 weeks away for the Houston Astros. Today they take on the Florida Marlins in Jupiter, Florida. Spring training baseball is next on Fox Sports Houston. It's Astros baseball today, live from Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. The first of two consecutive telecasts. The Houston Astros today take on the Florida Marlins. The weather has been absolutely fantastic, and we're glad to have you out there watching Astros baseball in 2011. Bill Brown and Jim DeShays. We'll start with that spectacular weather. We also got a news flash today. Brett Myers will be the opening day starter for the Astros, JD.
Yeah, not a real big surprise. Everybody anticipated that Brett Myers would be the guy. And, of course, with Wandy Rodriguez a little bit nicked up this spring, a little more slowly to come along, it stood to reason that Myers would be the guy. Good news on Wandy through a side session this morning. Apparently all went well. You talked about the weather, talking to people that have been here all spring as we just rolled into town. They said it's the best it's ever been. So all systems go for the Astros. Great weather, getting a lot of good work done. Of course, the one big chink in the armor all spring, the injury to Jason Castro.
Yeah, that's going to hurt. But the Astros are doing their best to see what they have, and we'll take a look at that situation today. We also have 2 weeks until the opener as the Astros go with Jay Happ today against Ricky Nolasco of the Marlins. 3 weeks from today, it's the Marlins for the Houston home opener. And we'll be back to see this preview in just a moment.
Springtime.
Here in Jupiter, Florida, Roger Dean Stadium, where the Astros and Marlins play today. The Marlins share this facility with the St. Louis Cardinals, and tomorrow it'll be the Cardinals in Kissimmee playing the Astros. We'll be back on the air with that game as well. At noon tomorrow, hope you can join us for it. As you see, your Astros coming up to the 2-week mark from opening day, as we mentioned, as of today. And the Astros open on the road at Philadelphia and at Cincinnati. 3 weeks from today, they're at home against the Florida Marlins. These two teams have played a lot of good games against each other down through the years. The Marlins figure to have a young, exciting team. The Astros also looking to do that same thing in 2011. Let's see what some of the things have been that have happened with the Astros since the last time you might have seen them. Bill Hall, Clint Barmas have joined the infield. Hall at second base, Barmas at shortstop. Ryan Rowland-Smith is vying for a spot in the starting rotation. Mike Barnett is the new hitting coach. He was the minor league hitting coordinator. And the new AAA affiliate will be the Oklahoma City Red Hawks.
Hey, and a brand new shiny diamond vision screen at the ballpark too.
Yes,
that's gonna be fun to look at.
Bet it will be. Now let's take a look at the Astros lineup for today. Michael Bourne returns after missing a few games. He's had the flu. He's in center field. It's Clint Barmas at shortstop. Hunter Pence is the right fielder. Brett Wallace at first base has had a very good spring. So is Chris Johnson at third. J.B. Shuck is the left fielder today with J.R. Tolles the catcher. Humberto Quintero is the DH. Anderson Hernandez is at second base. Batting ninth, and the pitcher for the Astros will be Jay Happ. Here's Ricky Nolasco, who last year for Florida was 14-9. He is one of 5 starters for the Marlins, all of whom were in double figures in the wins last year.
Yeah, they have a very talented and fairly young rotation. Nolasco led them in wins last year with 14. Been a pretty solid starting pitcher over the last 3 or 4 years. A lot of people expect him to take another step and really become a big-time frontline starter in the National League.
Defensively, here's the way the Marlins shape up. They've had some injuries preventing some people who will be in their opening day lineup from playing today. Josh Kroger's in left, Emilio Bonifacio in center, Scott Cousins in right. None of those figures to be the opening day player, although it might be Bonifacio in center. Donnie Murphy, Henley Ramirez, Ozzie Martinez, and Gabby Sanchez man the infield spots along with catcher John Buck. He's a former Astro, and Ricky Nolasco with that solid 14-win season as you saw last year. Coming into this game at age 28, this will be his second start of the spring. He's from Corona, California, and he was a 4th-round pick of the Chicago Cubs in 01. The Marlins got him in a trade in 05 after that season, and he has been a sturdy pitcher for them. There's the catcher John Buck joining on a 3-year contract as a free agent with this Florida Marlins club, being counted upon not only to stabilize the pitching staff but also to hit with power. This is a tough ballpark in which to hit with power, as Lance Berkman was saying in an article yesterday. The wind sometimes works against the hitters here, J.D. And here's Michael Bourne taking.
Yeah, well, that's a fairly big ballpark, Browning. Big down the lines, 400 straight away center field, and the breeze tends to blow in. Back in the day, Big Mac used to hit him up on that roof in left field.
Yeah, he defied a lot of the conventions that get in the way of other hitters. This fly ball just outside the left field line, caught in foul ground. And that is out number 1 for Bonifacio, or for Nolasco, as Josh Kroger moves over to take care of it.
So along the way, we'll have a visit with Brad Mills. I believe Ed Wade is supposed to stop by and have a chat. So stay tuned for that. We'll get some good information from those guys for sure.
Clint Barmas at 225 this spring has worked through some different styles with his hitting. And now he's just trying to settle on something that he can take into the season that will work for him. He's 32 years old, joining the Astros in the trade over the winter for pitcher Felipe Paulino. And with the Colorado Rockies, he first came to the big leagues in 03. Clint went to Indiana State. And the big curve misses there for a ball to Clint. And he figures to be in this number 2 spot in the lineup this season. 61 homers for Clint. And the big year for him, J.D., was in 09 when he hit 23.
And that's what the Astros are hoping for. A little more power from the middle of the diamond. Get very little home run production from shortstop and second base last year. So Ed Wade, in an attempt to address that, has acquired Barmas and Billy Hall, who are not in the lineup here today. But both those guys have a track record of being able to hit the ball out of the ballpark. They're not big-time sluggers, but certainly bring a little more pop than what the Astros featured last year.
Clint has played just about as much second base as he has at shortstop, but he's very happy to be back at the shortstop position. Troy Tulowitzki took that over in Colorado. Liner up the middle, and that is a nice place for a landing zone for a 1-out single for Clint Barmas.
It's funny, no real surprise to see the Astros acquire Barmas after talking to Brad Mills about him last year when the Astros played the Rockies. Millsy really liked his game, especially liked what he saw defensively from Barmas. He's very, very good either at short or second. Here he does a nice job staying back on that breaking ball, and Nolasco's got a good one. Good breaking pitch, but Barmas stayed back. Good solid line drive single.
Hunter Pence said before the game today he feels revitalized after the off day yesterday. Spring average is about his usual. He normally rips it up in spring training. 368 for Hunter this time around. And he just really doesn't have any other speed. He does not have a way of relaxing through spring training. Very intense at all times.
See the big leg kick as he loads up on the backside.
25 home runs for Hunter last year. That was the third straight season in which he had hit 25 bombs. He looks at that one, and that's a strike for Nolasco. The Marlins typically have had good pitching throughout the years, and they would seem to be pretty well stocked again this year, JD.
Yeah, the big horse Josh Johnson leading the way.
He was the ERA leader in the National League, and he pitched 6 good innings yesterday for them. They had lost 9 in a row until winning yesterday over St. Louis. Hunter looks at that one. Both these teams have losing records. The Astros 8-14, the Marlins 6-13. The 9-game losing streak was causing some concern in the Florida front office. Their owner Jeffrey Loria had expressed some thoughts that he wasn't seeing the kind of effort that he would like to see, and talking about the fact that it's not just a switch that players can turn on come opening day. So the win yesterday may have alleviated some of those negative vibes in the front office. 2-2 the count now.
It's called panic. You can't panic in March. Come on, Jeffrey, relax a little bit.
Well, evidently he's been here about a week and he hadn't seen the team win. You know, everything he was seeing, and it's pointed out too by people who have watched the Marlins all spring. It's not so much the record as the fact that they just really had not been playing well. They brought Perry Hill back in to be the infield coach, and he had been with the Marlins before and got great results. So they're hoping defensively to be much improved to support their pitchers.
Well, you know, you got to figure just about everybody is seeding the National League East to the Philadelphia Phillies because of their pitching. So if you're going to compete with them, you're going to have to pitch awfully well. And the Marlins, you know, their rotation does not stack up to the Phillies. Nobody's does, but they've got a chance to be very good. Javier Vasquez, Chris Volstead, the big guy in there. Anibal Sanchez.
Runner going, and there's a line shot headed for the gap. Barmas is headed for third base. Dave Clark sends him home to make it 1-0 Astros on an RBI double by Hunter Pence. The 2 liners run up the middle by Barmas, and then Pence hit a higher line drive to the gap in left center, have the Astros on the board early.
See, Brownie, we are instant offense, my friend.
You believe in the carryover effect in spring training from the Astros 5-run ninth on Wednesday, even after a day off yesterday?
I don't believe in that in spring training. I don't believe in the regular season. I don't believe it at all.
Well, Hunter will take a lot of those results this year.
Yeah, I believe in that swing.
Brett Wallace, he checked in with a 7 RBI game a few days ago, including a grand slam. So Brett is looking good as the opening day first baseman as of this point. Carlos Lee did play a game at first base on Wednesday. That was his first action of the spring at that position. 350 for Brett with a homer and 12 runs batted in for Wallace. That puts him atop the Astros heap for runs batted in this spring so far. And it's 2 balls, no strikes. And as you know, every manager wants to make sure he's covered in the spring at all positions. So you may see Carlos play a little bit more at first base between now and opening day, just to make sure that if Brett Wallace does need a day off here and there, Carlos might move over and feel comfortable there at first base.
Yeah, Carlos handled the position well last year.
This one's going to hang, and the right fielder heads back for it. Scott Cousins underneath with the catch. Hunter Pence tagging, and the throw is cut off. 2 outs.
It was either smart or fortuitous that Carlos Lee got the start at first base the day after Brett Wallace had that 7 RBI game, because if Wally had gone 0 for 4 with 3 punch outs and Lee was playing first base the next day, everybody would have been, uh-oh, Wallace has lost his job.
Chris Johnson hit 308 last season. He's the Astros Rookie of the Year, led National League rookies in batting average. He drove in 52 runs in 341 at-bats, and his spring has been excellent. And he had big spring training numbers last year as well. Made the club on opening day, but later was sent down to Round Rock and then came back up. Really took hold of the third base job. Chris visiting with some friends in the stands before the game today. He went to Stetson University, and he was born in Naples, Florida. His father, Ron, is the first base coach of the Boston Red Sox, who will come to Houston in early July. And they'll be there before that for an exhibition game at Minute Maid Park, in fact, on the 30th of this month. 1-1 to count to CJ. 341 with 2 outs and men in scoring position. So he's being counted upon as one of the main RBI threats for the Astros this year.
Well, when you if you are inclined to read a lot of the websites with the number crunchers, do all the sabermetric work, they do not expect much from the Astros lineup this year. And you can understand why, given what happened last year. But if that's going to change, it's going to be CJ. It's going to be a big year from Brett Wallace.
Yeah, those are going to be 2 of the main contributors if that's to happen. And of course, Michael Bourne left some room for improvement last season offensively. You have the new middle infielders there with more pop than what the Astros got last year. They had a total of 9 homers between second base and shortstop last season. Little roller brings Nolasco over for the toss. And the Astros pick up a run on 2 hits and leave a man and grab a 1-0 lead. Houston got a run at the top of the first. Now we check the Marlins starting lineup for manager Edwin Rodriguez. It's Emilio Bonifacio in center. He's followed by Ozzie Martinez, Hanley Ramirez. It's Gabby Sanchez, the cleanup man. Then John Buck, Greg Dobbs, Donnie Murphy, Josh Kroger, and Scott Cousins round out the 9.
James Anthony, J.A.J. App for the Astros. There are his numbers in an Astro uniform. 6-4, 16 starts, 3.40 ERA. Pretty solid for the most part, putting on that Astros uniform a year after he was a 12-game winner as a rookie for the Phillies defensively. It sets up that way. Chuck Barmas, Pence, Hernandez Wallace, Toles, CJ, and Bourne out there in center.
There's ball 1 to Emilio Bonifacio, the center fielder of the Marlins. Bonifacio at 229 has driven in a couple. Switch hitter who's been with Arizona and Washington. He takes that strike.
I find it rather ironic because typically in spring training the road team will run a lineup out there where you go, where are these guys?
Yeah.
It's not very representative, but you're getting that more from the home team today.
They're banged up. That ground ball goes through into left field. Bonifacio on with a leadoff single. Chris Coughlin figures to be their opening day center fielder, but it might be Bonifacio. Coughlin is having shoulder problems And he has been sent to minor league camp so he can play in minor league games without having to throw. He can bat but not have to play the field there. So it could be Bonifacio on opening day for them. And also they have a left field and right field injury situation right now too. So seeing a lot of substitutes in the lineup.
No Stanton, no Logan Morrison.
Right. And it's Ozzie Martinez at second base pushing a bunt foul, and Omar Infante figures to be their opening day second sacker. So you are seeing a lot of second liners today for the Marlins. Martinez has worked his way up through the Marlins system, and at age 22 now, he was drafted in the 11th round in '06. He's from Puerto Rico. Flares that one out of play. No balls, 2 strikes. Last year he had 43 at bats with the Fish. He hit .326. At Jacksonville for most of the season he was a .302 hitter. We talked earlier about Perry Hill is coaching at first. He's the infield coach as well, working with these infielders to make them better defensively. He's had a history of producing Gold Glove caliber play from infielders wherever he's been. That broken bat liner goes to shallow left, and J.B. Shuck gets over. 1 down.
Hey, the opening day 3-game hot pack. Well, it's the easiest way to lock in the best available seats to the hottest games of the season. Score a ticket to opening day and games against the Rangers, Red Sox. Plans start at only $21. Operators are standing by. So call now, 1-800-ASTROS-2, or go to the website, astros.com.
Hanley Ramirez.
We'll send you the Celtic Thunder CD collection.
383 for Hanley, who won a batting title in '09. And he takes ball 1. A tremendous talent, 27 years old, from the Dominican Republic. Last year he finished at 300, driving in 76 runs. He scored 92. And if you're getting ready for your fantasy league draft, he might be the first player who goes. Among shortstops anyway. He might be considered as one of those guys who goes very high overall.
Well, when you talk about the most talented players in all of baseball, his name always comes up in the conversation. On the top 4 or 5 guys, you know, Albert Pujols, Josh Hamilton, Hanley Ramirez right there with the best speed, power.
Charges that one to center. Michael Bourne with a long run. And he runs it down on a warning track. The win very helpful today, and that's out number 2 for pitchers anyway.
Big center field, a little win, and Michael Bourne. That's a pretty good combination for a pitcher. Go ahead, hit it out there, and I'll let Michael track it down.
Gabby Sanchez drove in 85 last year for the Fish. So he takes over at first base now by virtue of that first full major league season. 467 this spring for Sanchez. Runner going, and the J.R. Tolles throw is not in time. It was dropped, but Bonifacio had stolen the base anyway.
Bonifacio, not the hitter that Coughlin is, the guy who's expected to be their center fielder, but he does bring some speed into the lineup for the Marlins. Tough pitch to handle for JR there, off-speed breaking pitch.
Anderson Hernandez playing second base today. John Buck's on deck. Pitch was ball 1 to Gabby Sanchez. He was a catcher at the University of Miami. And it's 2 balls, no strikes. Gorgeous day here in Florida, and there have been many of those this spring. A couple mornings with rain, but they really have not prevented any of the games from being played.
No, the only problem with today is for a ball in the air could be problematic, not just with the wind, but with the sky. No clouds up there to break it up. It's a constant theme in spring training.
That one in the dirt for ball 4 since J.R. Tolles down to his knees. Runners at first and second now for John Buck. Buck traded by the Astros in that big 0-4 3-team deal, which brought Carlos Beltran to Houston. And John moved along to Kansas City and then Toronto. So now as he comes back to the National League, he's at 219 for the spring with a homer and 4 runs batted in for John. John now 30 years old. The Astros drafted him in '98 in the 7th round. He's from Kemmerer, Wyoming.
Don't find many guys out of Wyoming.
No,
Big
you
leagues.
don't.
There's just not that many people in Wyoming to begin with. As a percentage, they probably do okay.
Yeah. He signed a 3-year deal for $18 million after hitting 20 home runs with the Blue Jays last year. 2-0. The Marlins will be moving into a new stadium next year, so they'll have some additional revenues coming up on down the line. They'll play this one final season at Sun Life Stadium.
I think just to honor that ballpark, they should change the name of it every month of the season.
It seems that they have been doing that.
Usually change it every year, but
that'll hang in the air, and let's see. It's lost by Michael Bourne. Now he picks it up again. Clint Barmas was helping him out, and that's the 3rd out, but no runs to hit. 2 men stranded. 1-0 Houston. One to nothing. The Astros lead it. They got a 1-out single from Clint Barmas, and he rode home on an RBI double by Hunter Pence in the 1st inning. Bill Brown and Jim DeShays with you again this year, and really enjoying the spring. JD, we have the telecast coming up tomorrow. Al Roboski will join us for that one. That game will be seen in St. Louis and Houston. Those are our 2 spring training telecasts. And then when the Marlins come in, of course, the first home game will be televising from a brand new Minute Maid Park with the new scoreboards, the new Insperity Club. All kinds of things have been developing over the winter there.
I have not seen it yet. Have you? You've been by a lot of recent days.
Very, very nice.
Looking forward to that. Should be fun.
In fact, we're going to be there to give some of the season ticket holders a look at the new scoreboard. Right?
Friday the 24th.
Yeah. A little premiere there. J.B. Shuck with those numbers starts it off here in the 2nd inning. He's worked his way through the Astros system. Now the shot at being a big leaguer this year. There's ball 1. Brad Mills was saying J.B. still very much in the mix. Of course, you know who the 3 starting outfielders will be, with Michael Bourne in center, Hunter Pence in right, Carlos Lee in left, as it would appear today. And Jason Michaels would rank as the number 4 outfielder if you were putting things together today. That number 5 outfield spot still up for grabs, and JB is in the mix for that. This one in the air to right field toward the corner. And that one for J.B. Shuck will further his cause a little bit as he hits a home run to right. And the Astros have a 2-0 lead with Shuck going deep.
I'm sure when he came up there to bat, all the Marlin fans were, who's this guy, number 95, Shuck? We've never heard of him. Look at the swing there. If the wind is going to help it anywhere today, it may be to right field. I'm not calling that one wind aided. Certainly it's going to get knocked down to left. Might be pushing out towards right field a little bit.
Now there's a foul ball by J.R. Tolles, strike one, as Shuck goes deep for the first time this spring. 375 for J.R. with 2 homers and 5 runs batted in. And after starting the season last year with a big league club, he had a thumb injury in the minor leagues, and that ended his season. Got to be a big moment for that guy after going deep in this game.
Yep. Spring training or not, that's a thrill to go deep in big league camp. He's hit for a lot of power in the minor leagues. A little pop in that bat.
Well, we were talking with Brad Mills about him, and how do you project a guy like J.B. Shuck for just occasional at-bats on the big league club? He said it's tough. That liner goes up the middle and over Henry Ramirez for a single to center for J.R. Tolles. So the Astros have 4 hits already off Ricky Nolasco.
Yeah, that's why a lot of times those 4th and 5th outfielders, those extra infield positions, fall to more of a veteran guy, a guy who's become accustomed to playing in those situations where you're not in there every day and still to give you a tough, credible at bat.
Humberto Quintero, coming into spring training, seemed to be in line for the backup catcher spot. Now his stock has certainly risen with the tough injury to Jason Castro's knee. And Quintero's DHing today, and he will be the opening day catcher. He has been paired with Brad Myers, and that will be the continued pairing this season. 350 for Q this spring with 5 runs batted in, so it would appear that he's in for considerably more at-bats this season if he stays healthy than he's had in a major league season before. And of course a lot of things can change.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if the Astros do something to address the catching position between now and the beginning of the season. A lot of times catchers become available towards the end of spring training. Guys that have gone into camps with non-roster invites with other clubs. It's Wave. Wave caught the home run.
How about that?
Producer Wave out there.
That's some multitasking. Drive to left field. That will loop in for a hit. And here's Tolles, who runs well, going to third base. And it's 1st and 3rd on 3 consecutive hits. That's an asset that JR has, his ability to run faster than the average major league catcher.
Well, you talk about Quintero's stock rising. How about JR? When he came to this camp, probably thinking he had no chance to make the ball club. Castro's injury, now he's right there in the mix.
True. Now it's Anderson Hernandez. And he also has a chance to break camp and be on the opening day roster as of now. Hernandez, a switch hitting infielder at 292, has driven in 3. The Jeff Keppinger injury at second base has opened the door for somebody else to make the club. There's a liner into left field. Tolles will come home, and it's 3-0 Houston. 4 consecutive hits. That one hit well by Anderson Hernandez.
Alaska just elevating the ball a little bit in this inning, paying a price for it. Randy St. Clair, the pitching coach, is going to go out and have a chat.
Things can get pretty interesting here in the final few days of spring training. 30 pitches so far for Nolasco, 18 have been strikes. And, you know, people put names down on paper. They figure they've got the club pretty well pegged sometimes when spring training begins. And a lot of things can evolve during that roughly month-long period of games to change. Injuries and people's stock rising because they just perform well in the games and maybe front office hasn't seen that much of them before, and they like what they've seen. So it'll be interesting to see what develops here in the next couple of weeks.
For most clubs coming into spring training, there's not many job openings. Maybe a spot or two in the bullpen, these extra positions, and in the outfield, things of that nature. So for a lot of guys, it's sure you're trying to make the ball club, but a lot of it is just trying to put your best foot forward. So when somebody, when there's a need in the regular season, you're the guy.
Exactly. Mike Bourne's been working on his bunting this spring. Foul that one off.
That's a misperception, I think, that some fans have, that spring training is kind of this open tryout. Whoever has the best spring training is going to make the club. Well, in reality, with most clubs, there's only a couple of spots available. And a lot of it is determined by contract status, who has options, who can be sent out.
Now Ramirez was trying to dart behind the runner there at second. Quintero. Barmas on deck as the Astros bat in the second inning, leading 3-0. Showing bunt again, and the throw from Buck is a good one, but Quintero did not have to slide as he got back in.
Oh, Q knows all about catchers taking shots at base runners. His favorite pastime.
Yes, he does.
He must go out in the winter and just try to pick people off. He should go north and throw snowballs at people when he gets bored.
One thing's for certain, when the Astros open up in Philadelphia, the Phillies will have been warned by the pickoffs that he had in that city last year. Popped up back into the crowd. One ball and 2 strikes as Nolasco tries to get out of second inning trouble.
2 strikes now. Michael will be swinging away.
One of his missions here in spring training was to bunt more. With the 10 bunt hits, and he realizes if he can get a bunt down fair, he's going to get a hit the majority of the time. And he hits this one just foul. The other thing, too, is that the corner infielders have a tendency to respect his bunting ability, and he can get some hits by the third baseman sometimes, chopping over his head or hitting it sharply past him that might be doubles.
Yeah, because of his speed, even if he's not bunting a lot, they still have to cheat in to protect against a bunt or slowly hit ground ball. But where it really pays off for him, all hitters will tell you they go through stretches where they just don't see it well and they're not comfortable with their swing. Well, if you've got his speed and you get a bunt down, you can pick up some base hits that way when you're not seeing the ball very well.
This one heads for right center field. Another gapper for the Astros, and that will go all the way to the warning track, scoring Quintero, and it's going to be a 2-run double. Anderson Hernandez comes in as well as Bourne drives in a pair. After failing to get a bunt down, he winds up with a 2-run double.
Says his team's not going to score runs.
Well, they had the 5-run bottom of the 9th to win on Wednesday, and now they come firing out with 5 straight hits.
5 runs, 7 hits. This game is so easy.
J.B. Shuck opened the inning with a homer and then singles by Toles, Quintero, Hernandez. Now a double by Bourne, driving in a pair, and it's Clint Barmas. He singled to center in the first.
Now flash forward 2 weeks to opening day in Philadelphia, and it's going to be 41 degrees with Roy Halladay on the mound. That's a hang with him for the hitters right there.
You know it. Probably Halladay, Lee, and Oswalt. That's what the speculation has been for the Phillies in the first 3 games. 1 ball and 1 strike. That is a tough start for a hitter, especially if the weather is, as you suggested, very chilly.
Yeah, that could be a mojo killer. If you come out of Florida feeling good about your swing, and you go up against that kind of pitching in cold weather, that kind of pitching in any weather.
Off the mask of John Buck, it kicks up into the seats. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The Eastern Division, as you mentioned, figures to be a very stern test. Teams like the Marlins, good teams, may be left by the wayside with the caliber of competition they will be facing this year.
Phillies aren't without their problems, though. Utley's knee continues to be an issue. Brad Lidge's arm has not been sound.
That one will loop out to shallow right field and be caught. Well, for the first time, Marlins register an out here in the second inning. Bourne hanging on at second. Yeah, the Braves under new management. Eddie Gonzalez coming in to take over for Bobby Cox. Looked good to many. New York Mets kind of hard to figure at this point with Terry Collins, their new skipper. They released second baseman Luis Castillo today and ate some money on that.
$6 million.
Hunter Pence takes a strike. He ripped an RBI double to left center in the first inning. This is a very difficult time to analyze pennant races. 2 weeks to go in spring training. Foul back.
It's usually a period of spring training too, where you get in as a player, you get into the doldrums a little bit. You know, you're very excited to get here, and then you get a little bored before the game starts. Then the games kick in, and you're excited about that. And then you go through the first couple of weeks of spring training games, and you start to get kind of repetitive and old, and you're kind of yearning to play under the bright lights in meaningful games. So this is kind of a tough stretch mentally for the players. Next week that'll start to change as they see the light at the end of the tunnel and spring training is almost over.
Pence takes that one. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Bert Hooton will be the Astros AAA pitching coach again this year. The AAA club, as you saw earlier, will be at Oklahoma City rather than Round Rock this season. Bert's in his 12th year with the Astros organization. He was the major league pitching coach for a few seasons. He said back when he was pitching, they used to try to get about 32 innings in for the starting pitchers by the end of spring training, but it's changed now. He said when we went out the first time in spring training, we tried to go 3 innings. Now it's usually 2, JD.
Yeah. And back in the day, it was more about innings and not so much about pitches. Now they monitor the pitch count. Because the way the game has changed, the way the bullpens are utilized, you're not so much concerned about having your starter ready to give you 8 or 9 innings early in the season. You know, if you get 6 innings out of your starters, you're happy.
Yes, sir. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Brett Myers started on opening day for the Phillies for 3 consecutive years. So when he gets the assignment for the Astros at Philadelphia, that will not be a new one for him. Brad Mills was asked about the pitch count target for Brett. He said, well, he'll be close to throwing 100 pitches in a game this spring before that start. That's a strikeout of Pence. 2 outs now for Nolasco after giving up 5 straight hits. He has the next 2. Here's how the inning has gone with J.B. Shuck hitting one out to open it.
J.B., then J.R. got a knock. Then H.Q. got a knock. Anderson Hernandez. A.H. chipped in. And Nolasco again. One of those pitches up in the happy zone. Ringing double by Michael Bourne. Whoa.
5 runs on 7 hits. Now Brett Wallace. All 1 to Brett. On the Astros website, there's a clip with Brett and Hunter Pence talking about opening day and how since they were both very, very young, they've just visualized being opening day starters. Hunter's done it. Brett would love to do it this year. About what an exciting time that is. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Yeah, and it never gets old. No matter how long you're in the game, there's something special about opening day. But as a young player, you get a chance to be on that opening day roster. Run out there to the line and tip your hat for the first time when they announce the clubs. It's a special thrill.
Yeah, it really is. Well, Wallace came up and got in some major league seasoning last year with the Astros. Now trying to really grab that first base job and hang on to it.
Pitchers worked him effectively hard in last year, and he had some problems making the adjustment, and that's going to be the key for him going forward. Can he handle those good fastballs in. Either handle them or disregard them. And just be patient enough to wait for a pitch you can handle.
That's a very good point. Red's 24 years old. And he reaches out and pokes that one into right field. And that will get Michael Bourne to the plate. No throw is made. It's 6-0. RBI single for Wallace. He's the club leader and runs batted in. Number 13 for Brett.
He does a nice job here, boy. He's got great eye-hand coordination. Great example there as he breaks down that backside but keeps the hands back and just flips it into right field. Strong young man.
6-0 Astros. 6 hits in the inning. Chris Johnson.
This is great because if this lead holds up, we'll be able to stop for ice cream on the ride home.
We were talking about that on the way down. That's a long-standing tradition on road games. Where is it? Yeehaw Junction that we stopped?
Yeah, I think either Yeehaw Junction or Fort Drum. Well, I saw a lot more of the state than I wanted to today.
We're going to hear about that little travel log. You took a little...
Wife was calling me Vasco da Gama.
A little side trip, didn't you?
Well, you know, these guys in Florida, I know they've got a lot going on, but they've got to improve their signage on the roads.
Okay.
I was on this thing called the Greenway. It goes right over the turnpike. I was looking for the turnpike, but there was no signage, and I ended up halfway to Daytona Beach.
Well, Daytona's nice this time of year, but when you're working in Jupiter and you have to be on the air, that's a little disconcerting.
I knew I was in trouble when I saw a body of water called Lake Jessup, and I'd never heard of that or seen it before. This is probably not good.
Probably not named for Brock Jessup, so you had a thought that you were headed the wrong way. Bullpen action now for the Fish. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. But you made it in time, and there's nothing like a little excitement before that first telecast.
Well, you know,
JD.
it's spring training, so you don't have a lot of adrenaline, so that helped. You know, you kind of brought me up to game speed.
And you gave your dad a little thrill, too. He was along for the ride.
Yeah, I was trying to find him down there in the stands, but do you know how hard it is to single out an old guy in a floppy hat and a Hawaiian shirt in a spring training crowd?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about a demographic. It's all that's
you've hit the key demographic for these games. You really have. There he is. No. We told him Patty Smith would not be here today, by the way. This grounder goes to Hanley Ramirez. And the Astros fire out with a big second inning. They get it started with J.B. Shuck's home run. On the way to a very nice frame and a 6-0 lead after the 5-run second.
It's Friday, and the Astros are eating fish. How appropriate. 6-0, bottom of the second. Astros take on the Red Sox. Carl Crawford, a bit of a homecoming for Carl now with the Red Sox. It'll be exciting to see him. Exhibition game comes your way on March 30th, 7:05 game. And then it'll be off to Philadelphia for the Astros. So 1-877-9-ASTROS would be the phone number to purchase your tickets for that exhibition game or any other upcoming games. Astros.com is the website.
Jay Happ gets a fly ball to center field. Michael Bourne tracking it off the bat of Greg Dobbs. One pitch, one out here in the second inning. Dobbs joining this Florida bunch as a free agent in January, and he will be figured upon to provide a key left-handed bat off the bench. Start occasionally. Donnie Murphy's the third baseman today. He does not figure to be the third baseman on opening day, but nonetheless getting this opportunity to play. They like Matt Dominguez, the rookie right now at that position. Very good glove man. There's strike one, and Wes Helms also is on the roster. He can play third. Jay Happ figures to be in that spot for the Astros of being able to provide a lot of victories this year if he gets the run support. Good pitcher. Backhanded by Johnson. And there's a stretch by Wallace on out number 2.
Yeah, you know, we talked about the Astros and their struggles offensively this year and some of the dire predictions folks have about this lineup for 2011. And we're going to have to wait and just watch this team play. But it seems to me that the starting rotation could be the real key to all this, because there's a chance for this to be a very good starting staff. Second half of last year, the Astros pitched very well. And that was even after the Oswald deal. Happ was good. Bud stepped his game up. Wandy was lights out in the second half. And Myers was rock steady all year long. So there's a chance that this rotation could sneak up on a lot of people.
Josh Kroger at 156 has driven in one. Jay Happ has a major league record of 19-9 for his career with a 3.27 ERA. Last year he was 6-4. He was hurt early in this season. Then the Astros got him in the trade. You know, a lot of people have likened him to you and your pitching style, especially with the fact that he's left-handed. Kind of a similar build. He's hard to pick up for the hitters. The ball jumps on them. Good changeup. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, I see some similarities. Hides the ball well. Look at a lot of fly ball outs. Been working on a little bit of a cutter. The other day he had a session with Brad Arnsberg. He was working on glove side command, trying to hit that spot with his fastball down and away to the left-handed hitter.
Brad Arnsberg, the pitching coach, and he and Brett Myers developed a great relationship last year, as well as he and a lot of other pitchers. There's a 2-out walk.
Oh, yeah, Arnie, these spring training games, he's at the ballpark at 6 o'clock in the morning, breaking down video, gets behind the plate, and catches pitchers. And I'm not just talking about pitchers warming up to get loose to do some work. He's back there for the dirty work when they're cutting it loose and throwing breaking balls and sinkers in the dirt and the whole deal. The universe of pitching coaches that do that, as far as I know, is one.
Scott Cousins is the right fielder today. Cousins looks at a strike. Cousins, 26 years old, a third-round pick in 06. He's from Reno, Nevada, hitting 200 this spring. He had 37 major league at-bats last year. Hit 285 at AAA New Orleans.
If you could find one shortcoming in Jay's game last year, there were stretches where he kind of just lost his delivery, lost his release point or whatever, and couldn't find the strike zone. In particular, he had that one start, I guess it was in St. Louis. Just could not get locked in on the target.
This bouncer is trickling through into right field. Josh Kroger to second base on the bouncing single by Scott Cousins, hit number 2 for the Marlins. Jimmy Williams said this winter that he watched several Astros games on TV last year. He is a big J-Happ fan. He said, I think this guy could be a very big winner in the big leagues. Just likes his composure, his stuff, the way he uses it.
He's smart.
That Northwestern education is well served on the mound. Bonifacio fouls it, strike one. Maybe this is wrong, JD. You could correct me if you feel a need to, but I think he's one of those guys that at times, yes, he has delivery problems. At other times, I think he's smart enough to know he doesn't have to throw a strike and he can still get a swing out of a hitter. He knows how to locate to be tempting.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Down to the short. Barmas gets in between on the hops, but makes the play easily for the fourth play. No runs, a hit, 2 men stranded. The Astros lead it, and Brad Mills joins us in just a moment. Astros skipper Brad Mills with us. 6-0 Houston. He enjoyed the 5-run Houston second inning. We'll try to keep you just as busy describing the talents of the hitters here in the third, Millsy.
I hope so. we can go back, but as long as Shucky starts this inning as well as he did last inning, we'll be okay.
We were kind of wondering about the effect of the wind. He hit his ball down to the right field corner. What's the wind doing to a ball that is hit where his went?
Well, the ballpark's pretty deep. You get out near center field, and especially with that wind, it's pretty deep. But you hit the ball down the line, it's going to go ahead and go. And he hit that really nice.
Tell us about what you've seen from him this spring.
Well, he's been really aggressive at the plate, and he squared a lot of balls up. I think, of course, that's obvious with the home run he hit. But all spring, he's been putting the bat on the ball. And, he runs well. He's done a good job in left field for us. And I talked to him earlier today, and after Borney comes out, we're thinking about putting him in center a little bit today. So that'll be nice to take a look at him out there.
This has been one thing that you probably have really enjoyed, taking a long look into the future of this organization with players like J.B. Shuck this spring.
Well, yes, not just J.B. Shuck, but J.D. Martinez was here as well. And a lot of guys. Kobe Clemens was here, and he did a good job for us. A lot of those young guys really, they were very impressive. Just how they played the game. Everything doesn't come through in batting average and wins and losses and so forth now. But you're able to see how these guys are going to be able to progress, and it was good to get their feet work at the major league level.
Can you keep them all straight? You got JBs and TJs and JDs.
This is unbelievable. No, I can't. You know what? We got guys, JD, and I said Shucky because I have no idea what.
which pair of initials to throw out there.
Where are we in the alphabet? I know.
Well, you had 63 guys when you opened spring training. That's a big load, but you've had to have a lot of split squad games to give everybody the repetitions they need. How's that worked out?
I think it's worked out really well. People start looking that it's really tough on a ball club, and it is. And the reason it's tough on a ball club simply is because you have so many games, number one, but you have to plan for those split squads, whether it's before or after you play them. And sometimes it gets a little rough on the pitching, but to be able to get these guys at bats is sure nice. Get out of here, ball.
That one flares over toward the bullpen, and a spirited chase. Oh, good effort by the third sacker. He didn't quite get there. You know, that's one thing, too. As you watch these games unfold, Brad Mills, you're watching for a lot of things with the players in the field, what they do at the plate, the base running. There are so many different things you have to analyze and file all that away from the future, because you may have a situation in July when you want to call somebody up. You can get that recall of a spring training game, maybe.
No doubt, and that's why we've tried to really stress the base running. Will this guy go first or third? Will this guy hit the cutoff man? Does he have that athletic clock? You know, look at this. Now I'm going to try to put on signs with you guys.
Let Brownie
this
put a plan.
is going to be tough.
I just have him run on every pitch, you know.
Yeah.
Well, talk about that with the running game. Do you? Well, obviously it's different with a guy like J.B. Shuck, but let's say you get down to that final week of spring training. You know what you're going to have pretty much on the team by then. You want to set a little running tone. Do you try to press the action a little bit more that final week with the running game?
We kind of get back to really more like what we're going to do during the season. You know, Borney does such a good job of stealing bases. We know that in the past, and you know, but it takes a toll on his body. And he doesn't want to be doing that a lot during spring training, because it does take such a toll on his body. But now as we get down near the end, and we've asked him to kind of work on his breaks, his leads and his breaks and his reads, and see what he's got. Well, that was okay, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Got a nice jump.
And we can see a lot of things, just how they do that. And so that's what we're trying to do.
This kid looks like he's trying to make a ball club. Hits a home run, draws a walk, steals a base.
Well, he's, you know, like I said, I think that just goes along to the spring that he's having, and being able to open everyone's eyes, be able to do those things.
So has there been anybody else, whether it's on the mound or a position player, who's kind of taken a step forward that maybe you didn't anticipate coming into camp?
I don't know if I didn't anticipate him, but you know, Inario Del Rosario has really done a good job how he's throwing the ball, and he's been real impressive. And talk about open up some eyes. You know, it was just a brief time that we were able to take a look at him last September, but he's really done a good job for us. And then, you know, again, some of those kids that we brought over, you're able to really see a lot of good things from them.
And we think we're going to see Del Rosario later on today with an ERA of 0. So absolutely, we can see what you're saying with him. And along that same line, Wilton Lopez hasn't given up a hit or a walk this spring.
Well, he just continues where he left off, and it's so nice to see a guy with the ability he has come to camp and really prepare and get himself ready for the season.
Lopez hasn't walked a guy in 2 years. He just doesn't walk people.
Well, JD, you know how that is with you know, being a reliever. If you're able to throw strikes and get the ball to the plate and make the other team beat you, how big that is.
Yeah, boy, he was a lot of fun last year.
Yeah, he was really nails.
Tolles grounds out, but he had a nice hit and scored a run his first time up. Now Quintero. So these two guys with the major league experience have come in now and would seem to be in for expanded roles, as we'll get a pitching change here for the Marlins with Nolasco coming out without Castro. How big a loss did you feel that was when Jason Castro went out, Brad?
Well, you know, a kid with the ability that Jason has is pretty special. You know, we know he's going to hit somewhere down the road. The way he handled pitchers was pretty special. The way he throws is real special. You know, and he worked so hard this offseason. Everyone talks about how many guys we had come to Minute Maid to work out in the offseason. Well, he was one of those guys. He worked hard. He came into camp in real good shape, and he was looking forward to having a great year. But now he's just going to go home, and I'm sure he's going to work just as hard and be ready to have a great year next year.
Well, in the meantime, and now it opens up an opportunity perhaps for J.R. Tolles, who is kind of on the outside now. He's got an opportunity. What have you seen from J.R. this year? Both they're swinging it pretty well, but have you liked his work behind the plate?
You know, I think just, you know, maybe another year older. maybe, or I don't know how you want to call it, more experience. But he's doing a real good job back there. He swung the bat extremely well last spring, and he's continuing to do that so far this spring. So well, hopefully he'll continue to play the way he's capable of. That's for sure.
Millsy, today you announced Brett Myers is going to be the opening day guy. And Wandy threw a side session back in Kissimmee. What's the latest on Wandy? Is he doing okay?
He's doing fine. He felt really good. I was talking to Arnie when he got here today, and he looks like he's going to throw a light side again on Sunday and then start for us on Tuesday.
Do you feel like you've got time to get him stretched out to take his turn first time through? Yeah,
there's no doubt. And you know what? He's if you talk about stretched out, he's stretched out now compared to last year. So he's been able to get some innings and some ups and downs out of his system a little bit. So we're happy about that.
Quintero, the batter, against the new pitcher Frank Mata, and Q takes ball one. He singled and scored earlier. Q had more at bats last season than he's ever had in his career. Can you ramp up even more work for him this year now?
Well, that's always a possibility. You know, he does a real good job back there, and the last thing we want to do is, you know, he does a good job of catching Brett Myers. They work really well together, and the last thing we want to do is catch him so much that it takes away what he does so well with a guy like Brett and some of the other guys. So that's always that's going to be in the mix as well.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
This guy's got a pretty good breaking ball.
Yes, he does. So that ERA of 0 for the spring. The bullpen situation, how does that look for your club, Millsy?
Well, you know, we talked about Lopez and Mark Melanson is throwing the ball well. Of course, Brandon Lyon continues to pitch and be the professional that he is. There's some spots there in the middle that we're looking at and going from there. And we'll look and see what happens.
You thought he
had time, didn't get it, but he got the call anyway.
Yeah.
He's still taking umbrage. He didn't. I don't care if it's a ball or not. I want a tie.
Yeah, he's not for sure what he has to do. I think, you know, with 2 strikes, you want to make sure you get it.
Yeah.
Line drive into center. Yes, it was. Stop sign from Dave Clark at third base. On another well-hit ball by Q, and he's 2 for 2 in this game. Well, this probably is the best start you've had to a game this spring, isn't it?
Well, the guys have done a great job. They really have, and we've played extremely well. As long as we can continue to do the things that we can do day in and day out, we're going to be okay, and that's what they've done. Guys have put good at bats together. I think that's been our goal: is put good at bats. Just keep backing them up time after time after time, getting a solid 2, 3, 4 good at bats a game, and that's how you get ready for the season, and that's how you get ready and get better as a hitter as well.
Anderson Hernandez drove in a run with a single to left, first time up.
Millsy, 13 pitchers when you break. Is that the plan?
Right now it is, yes.
And how you set for lefties in the bullpen? Where are you at with that?
Well, I think we're looking at a few guys. You know, Irk Fitz is up for the minor leagues, and we're kind of looking at him a little bit. We're looking at Fernando Abad. We're kind of looking at them and looking at him, and we'll see how we're going to wind up with these guys. And, you know, this last week and after the split squad we have on Sunday, we're going to be able to get a lot of guys work in the next 3 or 4 days. It's really going to tell a big story.
Perfect world, you have 2 lefties out there, or
in a perfect world, yeah, that's exactly right. You know, people talk about, you know, would you rather have a good right-hander or just have a left-hander? But I tell you what, it's sure nice having those 2 lefties down there and get that out in the 6th or 7th inning. You know how big that is, and then maybe you need another big out, in maybe the 8th inning. Before you get to your closer.
And to that end, I've noticed Wesley Wright's been working on dropping down a little bit, thinking about maybe becoming kind of a lefty specialist.
You know, he threw the ball so well doing that his last outing, and we're really looking forward to seeing him again today and do that same thing. He's really bought into that, and it's kind of exciting for him, for the organization, to see what he could do. You know, those left-handers, boy, if you can if you can throw a curveball from down there and have command of that sink down there, you can have a real good career.
Trevor Miller's lasted a long time with that program.
Yes, he has. What are they gonna do here?
Otto's going to the shortstop, Ramirez, and yeah, a run scores. 7-0 as they get only out number 2 at second base.
Let's go, Shuggy.
How about Jeff Fulcino? How's he look to you this spring?
Well, he's had a couple. He's had a couple real good outings and then a couple outings. That's it. Let's go, kid. He's had a couple real good outings, and then I guess his outing wasn't quite as good the other day when we went to the minor leagues to throw. But you know what? Those games, a lot of times you don't. It's like getting the blood going. It just the blood just doesn't get flowing. And but we'll see him again here, I think, tomorrow, and we'll go from there.
So as you wind down to get towards the end of the camp, you sit down with the staff and you guys have meetings, and I guess you get in a situation where coaches are fighting for guys, or is it matter just kind of here's what I think, or do you just say, look, I got this?
No. We try to get as many guys' opinions as we can and go from there and see how we're doing.
Brownie and I we're happy to step in and give you our opinion.
I bet you are. You guys are going to have to stand in line.
We'll be right back. 7-0 Houston. Florida nothing, bottom of the third inning as the Astros try to make it a 3-game winning streak this spring training. Brad Mills has joined us. Bill Brown and Jim Mache's always interested in hearing the thoughts of the skipper, as we did before the game today. And that's a nice thing for the media covering a club, that you take the time to chat before each game, because on a daily basis things can really change in spring training, can't they?
Well, I know, and you get little tweaks and injuries and so forth, and all those things kind of really come to the forefront. The weather's been so good down here that the guys really haven't had problems getting loose. Where last year it was, we were in a situation where it was so cold, big foul.
Yeah, that's nice to be able to get all the work in, and with all these extra games been playing now, as you mentioned, the final split squad affairs are coming up on Sunday, and then I'll look toward getting the rotation in line perhaps, and maybe all the guys who have been candidates for that number 5 starter start to go in a different direction. Some maybe head for the bullpen. So these decisions are looming in front of you, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, and it's coming to, it's going to happen pretty quick. And the reason is because I think we talked about it today during the press conference. We're talking with you guys that we have to make these decisions to get these guys ready for what they're going to be doing, their role, whether it's in the bullpen, whether it's in the rotation, or whatever it is.
And you still have a lot of guys who figure to be on the AAA club at this point. So if it becomes necessary to send them to the AAA club to get ready for the season, that helps that manager, Tony DeFrancesco, to get ready and get his guys into place as well, doesn't it, Millsy?
Yeah, it does. Their starters have to get their innings in as well. And, we want these guys to perform up to their capabilities. And if we don't allow them to get their innings in, get their pitches up, then we're not doing that, whether they're going to be in AA, AAA, or wherever. And we need them to get in shape, because it's going to be pretty cool wherever they start as well.
What have you seen from Jordan Lyles this spring?
He's been pretty impressive. His last outing there in Sarasota against the Orioles, he came in and really went through some pretty good hitters. But he's throwing the ball extremely well. He's been everything that we had really heard, because I hadn't seen him before this spring, and even better than that. He's done a real good job.
Do you see more depth in the organization going into 2011 than you did a year ago?
Bill, after the season was over last year, the day after the season, I went to came down here to Kissimmee for instructional week, and I was very impressed with the guys we have. Bobby Heck in the scouting department has done a real good job of getting us some really solid players, and you know what, they're really exciting. I think we're seeing guys like J.B. Shuck, and we're going to see Delino DeShields, our #1 pick here in a couple innings as well today. But these guys, how they go about doing some things and how they play the game. Well, that was a nice turn there.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to ask you about that. And we're really looking at him for the first time, but we've been hearing rave reviews about Clint Barmas all spring, Millsy.
Well, his catching and throwing at shortstop we couldn't have asked for anything more. But one thing that we're just loving is how he communicates with the second baseman, with the third baseman. How he helps adjust the outfielders. He's always, his head is the game. He's got an idea of what he's doing, and I think he's like a little kid in a candy store, being able to be back at shortstop.
Well, I remember last year when we were playing the Rockies, you were talking about Barmas, how much you liked his game. So he was kind of on your radar.
Well, you were able to see him, and you were able to see how. Being in the National League, I'm sorry, being the Red Sox, and being able to go through there in interleague play, you were able to really see this guy at a very young age. He's a pretty solid player.
Johnson able to hold that throw at first from Johnson, and now it's John Buck batting with a runner at first and 2 outs. And he yanks one foul, strike one. Talking earlier about Jay Happ, Brad, before you came on, and how good he looked last year. And now with an opportunity to start the season in this camp with this club and a comfort zone, how do you see him playing into the rotation this year?
Well, the thing with Jay, last year, he's got real good stuff. He's a great kid, does whatever he can to get better and how he works. But getting that consistency is one thing that we're really looking forward from him, and putting this start together. Hopefully he can continue throwing the ball well like he is for another couple of innings. But the more experience and the time that he gets here, the more he settles in. I think we're going to get that consistency from him, and not being able to be a consistent major leaguer up until now. I think that's going to play a lot into it as well.
Asking Brad J.D. before the game about the 2 lefties, Wandy Rodriguez and Jay Happ, and whether that was a factor, whether to stack them back to back in the rotation or not. Brad said, yeah, it's something of a factor. But that gets a little tricky too as you near the end of spring training. One guy's a little bit behind the others, doesn't it, Brad?
Yeah, it does. But what we finally decided and thought that they are so different. One guy's kind of short, and the other guy's kind of tall, and one guy comes more over the top, and the other guy is to a high 3/4 to maybe a lower 3/4 at times. So they're a different type of pitcher. So that didn't play into the decision. What we were going to do with that as much as it might in some other cases.
How about, is there any thinking that because the way Jay pitches, the way Bud Norris pitches, and a lot of times by definition with your 5th starter you don't get as many innings, any concern maybe splitting Myers and Wandy, figuring that they're going to eat more innings, and you might have some stress on the bullpen if you have those three guys, Jay, Bud, and your fifth guy all kind of stacked up?
You know, yeah. No, there has. We've tried to sit and think about everything. And I think what came out of that, JD, is, you know, as the season goes, you start, sometimes you'll skip a guy because you have a day off, or this guy is maybe comes up with a little sore arm, so he's going to miss an outing or two. So you wind up getting guys split up anyway, you know, as you go on. So that was a consideration, but then we decided that maybe not now.
Yeah, and that kind of goes to the, you know, you read this, you talk to managers about it, you have certain ideas that you want to do strategically, but does it make sense in terms of dealing with people? And all of a sudden, if you got to go to Wandy, going, you know what, you're going to start third instead of second, and people make a story out of it, you know, like he's the number 3 as opposed to the number 2, then you got something you don't want to have to deal with.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt that all that plays into it, because you don't want somebody to start struggling with their command just simply because their head's not in it or where it needs to be.
Other than the Jason Castro injury, how do you think the health situation has been of your club this spring?
Well, it's been real good. Knock on wood. It's been real good. They've you know, Sanchez has that tweak in his back right now, and so we're giving him a few days. And we've had the one thing that has been kind of a little bit of a bugaboo is sickness. And guys getting a little sick, and Michael Bourne is coming back from that today. And I got to check out and see his going. The plan for him was just to get to 3 at-bats. I didn't think he was going to get 3 at-bats in 3 innings.
Greg Dobbs, the batter, as Jay Happ tries to end the 3rd inning here. There's a shot off the glove of Chris Johnson up the left field line, and the Marlins will score to make it 7-1. A hard hit ball. And CJ's been working a lot on that lateral movement, hasn't he, this spring?
Yeah, this spring and then this winter as well. He was, again, one of the guys who worked out at Minute Maid. And he worked a lot with Bobby Meacham, our infield instructor, who lives right there in Houston. So they would go out to Minute Maid, and was able to work with him both on the field and in the clubhouse on that lateral movement and his footwork when he throws and so forth. So it's always, he's done a good job of working on it.
Millsy, if there were one thing, because he's going to get this 3rd out here, and we're going to have to let you go, but is there one thing between now and opening day that is your biggest priority as you put the club together, your biggest concern?
Well, there's going to be, you know, you mentioned the bullpen. There's always going to be some question there, and because remember, you know, last year, you just hope guys can carry over what they've done here. Sometimes carry over to start the season. When the bell rings and the lights go on, sometimes a different player comes out. You know, we're very happy with everybody we got on the club, but when we're going to have to go with some younger guys, sometimes you kind of wonder. But these guys have been so good the way they've gone about everything that I think that the questions have pretty much been answered.
Tried to make a prediction for a 3rd out there. I guess I came up a little bit short.
Well, it's 1 and 2, so we're on the right track.
We haven't talked much about Mike Barnett, the new hitting coach, and if we get another pitch, we'll ask you about him. But been hearing great work, great reviews about his work in the cage with different situations on the hitters during BP.
You know, he cares so much about each and every hitter that he watches film endlessly on the hitters, on the pitchers. He works with them. I think he's out at 7 o'clock every morning working with guys. Make this play.
Armas.
Yeah,
nice play it was. Brad, thanks so much for joining us.
All righty, guys. All the best.
An unearned run comes across for the Marlins, but the Astros lead at 7-1.
Beautiful day here in South Florida. Astros lead the Marlins 7-1 as we move to the fourth inning. The opening day three-game hot pack. It's the easiest way to lock in the best available seats to the hottest games of the season. Opening day, Rangers, Red Sox. Plans start at just $21. Operators are standing by. The phone number is 1-800-ASTROS-2, or you can go to the website, astros.com. Boy, it's a sweetheart of a deal. Yeah, Red Sox coming in. Interleague play this year. Astros head to Toronto for the first time ever. That guy's getting down.
Now Pretzel Man is twisting himself up in a knot there. We go to the fourth inning now with the Astros leading at 7-1. Eli Villanueva is on the mound. And he's done well all up through the Marlins ladder organizationally, and probably ranks number 6 in the battle for the 5-man starting rotation right now, we're told. Throwing that pitch to Clint Barmas, who is 1 for 2 and was strike one. Barmas gets underneath that one. Gabby Sanchez, the wind taking it over near the stands, and it's out of play. No balls, 2 strikes. We mentioned earlier that the Marlins have a 5-man rotation, and all those 5 were in double figures in wins last year. A tough rotation to crack for a guy like Eli Villanueva, but the Marlins have been very good about developing players and pushing them through their system, so they have him on hand if they need him later on.
Well, it's nice to have that kind of depth in case you need to call somebody up from the minor leagues, or if you have a weakness somewhere else on your club, you can make a trade.
That one hits for left field toward the line, and it's out number 1.
Villanueva, not a real power guy. That's why he's kind of snuck up on people, but he just continues to win at the minor league level. And if you're number 6, and somebody said, boy, wouldn't it be nice if somebody got hurt? You would say no, but in the back of your mind, you're going, well, that wouldn't be such a bad thing.
Hunter Pence doubled in a run in the first, then he struck out at the second inning, looking at strike 1.
So you can pretty much pencil Hunter in for 25 home runs, right?
That's the way it has been. He's been like clockwork. He'd probably like to ramp up the RBI totals more to go with those 25 homers if that's to be his ultimate fate this year. He's the type guy in the number 3 spot of the order now who could probably pick up more hits than he's had in the past if he has his best year. Hitting higher than he has in the past. More plate appearances.
He got off to that slow start last year, but ultimately got things turned around. He can just put 6 solid months together. Could put up his best year yet.
That was the weird thing about last year, that Hunter Pence, Carlos Lee, and Lance Berkman all struggled for the first 2 months of the season together, and that's extremely rare on a major league club. Especially guys with the credentials of those 3. Hunter will be 28 in mid-April. He hit 282 last year. He drove in 91. He really went up the ladder on that one for odd number 2.
Yeah, and that's just the key for Hunter right there. Just stay in the strike zone, very aggressive. You don't want to take that aggressiveness away from him, but obviously you can't go after that one.
What is that you say? There's no food up there?
No food up there.
Okay. Brett Wallace is 1 for 2 with an RBI. This one goes to left field and carries pretty well to the warning track and off the glove of the left fielder. This one sends Wallace to second base, and the sun was definitely a factor on that fly ball to left. Josh Kroger trying to get sight of that one, but JD clued us in earlier on the fact this would be a tough day.
Well, off the left-handed bat is slicing away from him to begin with. Then you've got the wind and that tough high sky overhead. And by high sky, I mean bright with no cloud cover, no clouds to break it up. It seems redundant to call the sky high. It's generally up there. Going to give him a sun in the eyes double.
Wallace is 2 for 3 today. Chris Johnson follows him. CJ 0 for 2. Good cut there as he fouls it for strike 1.
Left fielder had his sunglasses on. I didn't notice.
Didn't notice either.
I got to believe he did. Sometimes you see the outfielders out there battle with balls in the sun, then you look and you see the glasses are up on top of the hat.
Yeah. 6 doubles for Wallace this year. This would probably be one of those days to wear them all day long. Just so bright. You know, Billy Doran was one of the outstanding defensive second basemen of his time. That was back in the old days when the sunglasses were the flip sunglass variety. He just didn't like to wear those sunglasses. And he tried them off and on, but he just didn't get good results. Now, back in the days of the contact lens wearers, attempts to have a sunglass type effect on the lenses. Some players would go with those tinted lenses like Adam Everett and some of the guys tried.
Yeah, he had those red ones. Looked like he was possessed.
Yeah, players reported varying results with that attempt. That's a liner into left field. Go ahead for Wallace. Dave Clark sends him home. Kroger with a throw off line, and it's 8-1. And into second base. Good base running there as Chris Johnson drives in the run and winds up in scoring position. 8-1 Astros.
Yeah, good work on the bases there. Aggressive send by Dave Clark. Brett Wallace draws with the throw, an errant throw off the line, and no chance to get him. And CJ able to work his way into scoring position. See if JB Shuck can keep his perfect day going.
Well, he's had quite a day. You're right. Perfect so far with a homer, a walk, a steal, 2 runs scored. JB Shuck, 23 years old from Gallon, Ohio, went to Ohio State. 6th round draft choice in 08 by the Astros. Last year he played at Corpus Christi and Round Rock. Soft fly ball here, and the center fielder Bonifacio started back, but he's able to regroup and get in for the catch. 1 run, 2 hits for the Astros. Their lead is 8-1 in the 4th. Astros on their way to building this 8-1 lead. Bottom of the 4th inning is coming, and we're glad you're with us today for spring training baseball from Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. Tomorrow at noon Central Time, it'll be the Astros and the St. Louis Cardinals from Kissimmee and Osceola County Stadium. Al Roboski joining JD and me, and we hope you'll be in the audience for that game tomorrow. We understand Lance Berkman is going to be making the trip to Osceola County Stadium, and we look forward to that one tomorrow. Now it's Josh Kroger. It's the bottom of the 4th inning, and Kroger fouls it, strike 1. What a gorgeous day. And, the stands are only about half full, roughly. Fans who are here are being treated to one of those spectacular afternoons.
Yeah, you look at the long-range forecast, and every day's about the same. No chance of rain, about 82, 85 degrees. Nice light breeze.
talked about Happ working on that glove side command. And you saw him the other day. He misses wide that time to the glove side. 10 of 17 first pitch strikes today so far. And let's put yourself in his shoes. You're here with a couple weeks to go in spring training. Are you working on things? You're trying to get sharp with your game plan that you're going to use for the regular season? Where are you at this point?
I think you're just pitching.
Okay.
And I think for the most part, that's what guys do. I think guys talk a lot about working on different things in spring training, and maybe early on they do, or in the wintertime. But I think for the most part, once the spring training games start, you just do what you do. If you're a pitcher, you go out and pitch, and you try to get outs. And maybe I got to make sure I work in my changeup a little bit. And I don't think there's that much tinkering that goes on.
Scott Cousins singled to right field back in the second inning.
The exception would be in a case like Wesley Wright, where you've got a guy who's trying to make the ball club and basically changing his delivery to try to remake himself. He's trying to become more of a lefty specialist with a drop-down delivery that would really chew up left-handed hitters. Well, that's clearly a guy who's working on something and trying to implement it. But guys who already have the team made, you get to this stage in the spring, and you're just trying to fine-tune what you do.
Two balls and a strike. Happ threw 60 pitches through his first three. And if a starter can get that pitch count up around, 90 by the final start of the spring, that's considered to be on target, isn't it?
Yeah, and ideally, I think you'd like to get there. You'd like to max out in your second to last start of the spring. Go 90 to 100, and then your final start maybe back it off again, so you're really fresh for that first real one.
Good point. That's a one-out walk. We have some notes from Steve Grand, who's on the trip as the Astros media relations guy, who passes along a lot of details. Henry Villar pitched in a minor league game, 3 innings today, no earned runs, throwing 31 strikes out of 39 pitches. Fernando Rodriguez Jr. threw a couple of innings, and Patrick Erkfitz worked 2 as well in minor league camp today.
Here's a little Patrick Erkfitz trivia.
Ooh.
Patrick Erkfitz pitched collegiately at Monroe Community College. What other former Houston Astros went to that esteemed institution in Rochester, New York?
I'm going to say Tim Redding.
You are correct, sir.
Okay. Is there somebody else?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. We'll stop at Tim Redding then.
That's what I was going for. The Rochester Rifle. Or Rochester, if you're from there.
Okay, you're right. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Tim is with what club now?
I don't know.
He's with somebody.
I'll look him up.
Thought maybe Rockies, but that may not
That
be
sounds right. That sounds right.
There have been a lot of injuries to these NL Central teams in spring training. That's fouled away. Adam Wainwright missing the season. Surgery for the Cardinals. That's one of the big ones, isn't it? We'll check in with Al Roboski and the Cardinal folks tomorrow and see how they think things have progressed with their rotation without Wainwright. Tap foul. Apparently Kyle McClellan has looked pretty good as he goes for one of those spots in the starting 5.
Tim Redding on January 3rd signed a deal with the Dodgers for a minor league contract with an invite to split. He did the Rockies some last year.
Okay.
Very good. Well traveled now, Tim. But hanging in there.
Little looper to shallow right field. Anderson Hernandez draws a beat on it, catches up with it, 2 down.
Yeah, so, Wainwright gets hurt. Obviously, that was pitching. How about this Greinke injury?
Yes.
I mean, if you just sign him to that deal, you could ask Ed Wade about that. How mad would you be?
All right. We'll ask
Ed Wade
that
kind of a deal, and you're counting on that kid, and he gets hurt playing basketball.
Well, if you're asking me, I'd be furious, but we'll ask Ed when he gets in here. Ozzie Martinez 1 for 2. Doug Melvin, though, didn't seem too upset by the quotes from him, and said, well, it's a short term. If this had been a longer term situation, it'd be different.
Well, yeah, you got to have a relationship with the player going forward. So, on one level you just steam beyond belief, but then you go, okay, well, now where do we go from here?
That's lifted on the infield. Hernandez over for this one as well. But Wallace will make the catch. Seemed to be a little lack of communication there, but Wallace got it. And after 4, the Astros lead it 8-1. General Manager Ed Wade joining us here with the Astros leading at 8-1, top of the 5th inning, as the Astros have fired out offensively, and after the 5-run 9th inning Wednesday, winning that one in thrilling fashion. Ed, you've had some good things to see in recent days.
Yeah, we've swung the bats well the last couple of games, and actually it's been a pretty good spring for us. I know the one-loss record, if people are paying attention to one-loss records in spring training, doesn't look all that great, but we've gotten performances from the guys that we were counting on, and we've got a level of competition going on at a number of positions that we think bodes well for us.
What a difference a year makes for a guy like J.R. Tolles now, as he leads it off here and fouls that one, as he really has a chance to do a lot of catching, it would seem, for the Astros this year. How do you evaluate the situation with the Jason Castro injury?
You know, as far as a year goes, he was in somewhat a similar position a year ago coming out of spring training, figuring that J.R. was going to be our guy, and he struggled, and Castro came up, and now Jason's got his injury, and it's a second chance for JR to do what we think he's capable of doing, and hopefully he takes advantage of it.
He runs well for a catcher. Seems to be a good offensive player. Translating that into the big league level sometimes is a real challenge for guys, but what do you see there for him offensively and defensively?
Well, you know, whatever offense we get, and you know, we all say this, whatever offense we get is a plus, and just putting down the right fingers, the reality is that we need offensive contributions from everybody. So if indeed JR is our opening day catcher, we need him to produce offensively, but of greater importance is the fact that we've got we've got some young pitchers on this staff, and we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to build on the success that they're capable of producing, and a large portion of that is going to come down to the ability to execute a game plan and have the pitcher stick to it, and a lot of that falls to the catcher.
Absolutely. Alberto Quintero had good vibes last year as he caught Brett Myers and others. He fouls that one, and he's 2 for 2 in this game, and this would seem to be, this is his time now to catch even more this year.
Q's done a great job for us. He's the prototypical backup guy, very good physical tools, and he has fallen into working with Arnie and Brad Mills on the game plan and implementing it on the field, and that's what we're asking Q to do, really get more playing time in this circumstance probably, but anytime he goes out there, you know you're going to get a good effort from him.
Would you ever consider carrying 3 catchers?
We've talked about it. It's tough in the National League unless at least one of them can multitask. You know, when you start talking about 12 pitchers and the fact that we pinch hit a lot in our league, you're down to 5 extra players. So if you start talking about 2 backup catchers, one of them better be able to play first base and or the outfield in order to make it happen. As a matter of fact, just before Castro got hurt, we started working JR out at first base to try to see if he could multitask, handle that responsibility. And then once Jason got hurt, it became more a case of, okay, let's try and get JR game ready and see if he can handle the primary task at hand.
Do you feel better about the overall depth of the organization this year compared to a year ago?
Absolutely. The first real glimpse that I got of it was in Instructional League last year down in Kissimmee after the season was over. The composition of that roster really showed a lot of athleticism and ability. This year, the non-roster players we have in camp, plus the mini-camp guys that came in early, are all giving us reason for a lot of optimism about the future.
Ed Wade will be back with us. It's 8-1 Houston over Florida in the middle of the fifth. Eight to 1 ball game. The Astros have banged out 11 hits, and they had a big 5-run second inning on their way to this 8-1 lead. Ed Wade, the Astros general manager, joining us, and you've had a chance now to look at a whole lot of people throughout the organization for weeks now this spring. 2 weeks to go until opening day. Overall, how would you say the entire focus of spring training has gone for the organization?
With the exception of the misstep, literally the misstep by Jason Castro that cost us our everyday catcher for hopefully not the entire season, but probably most of the season. I think it's been a really good camp for us. We've had some decisions validated by the way that people have come in and performed with the opportunities that they've gotten here, and we've got good competition. You know, right now we've got a real big competition going for the utility infield spots. I still think there's at least one opening in our outfield that has to be addressed, and there's a lot of competition in the bullpen for us at this point in time. We've been very excited about the progress of Del Rosario, who we brought on a waiver claim from Cincinnati last year, and several other guys that are knee deep in a competition that hopefully continues all the way down to the point where we break camp.
Wes Helms, the batter here, leading it off in the home fifth inning after a .220 average last season for the Marlins. And he gets underneath that one. This fly ball, tough proposition on this day. The sun, and you try to evaluate results. Yeah, Michael Bourne fought that one. In spring training, it's not a second deck stadium, as they say, in a major league stadium, and in a spring training game, and the sun conditions are different, the wind's different. It's sometimes tough to project, isn't it?
It's really tough with the sun and the wind and the high skies. You know, we've been very fortunate. We don't complain about the weather being nice like this, but at the same time, you've got to recognize that it's a real challenge for outfielders. The winds change all the time, and in some of these ballparks, it's the hitters are the background that they get from the stands behind home plate. Sometimes that's not conducive to picking balls up off the bat, so it can be a struggle out there. But as we've seen from our friend in center field, it doesn't seem to phase him a whole lot. He's pretty special out there.
2 Gold Gloves, and he takes away so many runs, and is really important in the outfield configuration for the Astros to cover the amount of ground that he does. It's hard to quantify what he does, isn't it?
Yeah, Zach Levine from the Chronicle asked me the other day, and I said he takes China and makes it look like Luxembourg, which was as close to that old saying about Gary Maddox of the Phillies. 2/3 of the earth is covered by water, the other third by Gary Maddox. You get a lot of the same type of stuff out of Borney out there. It's you really don't appreciate it until you see somebody else trying to cover the same acreage, and it's just not possible.
Yeah. Jay Happ has looked good today. How does he stack up now, in your opinion, as far as somebody who looks as if he's still on the way up in his career?
We love this guy. We love the physical ability that he's got. We love his work ethic and his attention to detail and the competitive spirit. If you spend any time around Jay 4 days out of 5, he's very low-key, very quiet. On that 5th day, the game face comes, and he's all business out there, and it's because of the level of preparation that he puts in the other 4 days that allows him to be successful. And barring an injury, we don't see any reason why this guy can't be a huge part of our rotation for a long time.
John Buck with one hopper. Wow, that's a tough hop, and handled very well by Clint Parmes. Ed, thanks so much for joining us.
All right, thanks a lot, Bill.
Ed Wade, the Astros general manager, liking what he sees today. 5, it is 8-1 Houston. It is 8-1, Houston leading Florida. Top of the 6th inning, a moment away. The Astros home opener is 3 weeks from today, Friday, April 8th, against these Florida Marlins. There is nothing like being there for opening day, a special day in baseball. Plus, it's our first Friday night fireworks presented by Marathon Oil Corporation. Visit Astros.com or call 1-877-9-ASTROS to purchase your tickets today. And trying to bunt his way on. It's a foul ball from Michael Bourne. So we've seen him attempt a couple of bunts today as he continues on that program. Michael with a 2-run double back in the 2nd inning is 1 for 3. And comes right back with another bunt try, fouls it away. No balls, 2 strikes to Michael. Wes Helms stays in to play third base. And the shortstop is Donnie Murphy, who moved over to short from third, with Hanley Ramirez coming out of the game.
Even 2 strikes, Helms tightening up a little bit for Michael because of that little chopper. Worried about that. Have to pinch a little bit.
Michael shoots that one out of play. Last year, Michael hit .265. Batting average probably is not a key indicator of what he's doing offensively, with especially a leadoff man. The on-base average is more important. He had a .341 on-base average last year. He loops that one to shallow left field. This could be in, and it is foul. 3 players giving chase. Michael back to the box with a 1-2 count. If that's fair, that's a double for Michael. Fair amount of territory over there in the bullpen area and foul ground outside the third base line. The Astros in their bullpen have a right-hander warming up right now. It's about that time of the day. Jay Happ has looked good today.
5 solid innings, 1 run on 4 hits. Slap a little ice on the shoulder. Kick the feet up and relax. Say, hey, job well done. See, this is a point I make all the time, but I haven't made it yet this year because it's our first telecast, so I'm going to start. I love the idea of Michael Bourne dropping down a 2-strike bunt every now and then.
Okay.
Very few guys have ever been willing to do it because if you bunt foul, you're out and you feel kind of sheepish.
Back toward the right field corner with that wind pushing it further.
So here's your bunt, pal.
Now, off the wall, and Michael Bourne is on his way to third base with a triple. Almost hit it out, as J.B. Shuck did back in the 2nd inning into that same area, the right field corner.
Yeah, that evidence right there to the contrary. I'll explain my position. If you look at just take a look at numbers and see what hitters do when they have 2 strikes on them, what they hit, what their batting averages, it's usually in the low 100s. So the chances that you're down on the count 0-2, 1-2 that you're going to end up getting a hit is pretty small. So that's why I think it's a good idea for Michael to try to bunt every now and then, because typically the infielder is going to back off a little bit with 2 strikes, and that's going to give him a little more room where he won't have to be quite as fine with that 2-strike bunt.
A ball by Clint Barmas. Barmas is 1 for 3. Brett Butler used to bunt.
That's the guy. I was just going to say he's the one guy I remember. And again, he's just very hard to convince a hitter to do it.
It's a big part of Brett's game plan, and he did not abandon it when he got to 2 strikes. 1 ball and 1 strike on Clint Barmas.
Brett could do what Michael just did, too. He could fool you every now and then. He'd turn on one and hit it with a little authority.
True. Michael has a couple of extra base hits today, a double and a triple, driving in 2. This one will hang up into shallow center, and with the infield in, it turns out to be caught by the second baseman for out number 1, but he had to retreat to get back there.
Now, all hands on deck on a pop-up like that. Nobody give up on the ball. Both outfielders, center and right, continue to come. You got to provide a little support because you never know if the guy actually has a beat on it or not.
Now Hunter Pence will get this opportunity with the infield staying in with 1 out, and he had an RBI double his first time up. He's 1 for 3. Well, as you look at the NL Central, JD, how do you think they'll stack up this year?
Hard to say, Brownie. You know, it's funny because a lot of people are talking about the Brewers, and rightfully so. I think they might be the best club in the division. People seem to be dismissing what the Reds did last year. That's a really good team.
Yes.
I mean, they won the division. They're young. They're talented.
Definitely.
And some of those guys, I think, are getting better.
Yeah.
You know, Jay Bruce, Drew Stubbs. Their pitching looks good. That's a really good team. So to me, if you're going to handicap it, those 2 kind of at the top of the list. And I'm not so sure what the Cubs are going to do. The folks think they're better. They've added Garza, depending on what they get out of Zambrano. The new first baseman, Pena. I'm not overly excited about that club. Cardinals took a big hit with Wainwright.
Lance Berkman should be a key man in their lineup.
Yeah, and that's a big question. You know, can Lance bounce back and come close to, you know, his, if not his peak form, close to it? And how about covering the outfield on an everyday basis? How's he going to hold up doing that?
He's been DHing quite a bit with the sore throwing elbow the last couple of weeks. I think the plan for all teams is to discontinue using the DH in National League games, but we were told the Marlins wanted to use it today, and that's why the Astros used it. This might be the last day you see it. Kind of a universal agreement even in National League games this spring that the DH has been utilized to this point. It gives the manager a chance to see an extra hitter, obviously, but now they want the pitchers hitting from this point on to get ready for the season.
Struck out on that high pitch last at bat. He went after an elevated pitch there, but more understandable here in this RBI situation. You get paid to drive in runs, man on third, infield in. You want your RBI guys to be aggressive in these situations.
Bouncer over the mound, and there's no opportunity to score Michael. That's out number 2.
I'm talking about the division bounty. The Pirates, I like their lineup. I don't like their pitching at all, but I like their lineup.
All right, scoring summary for you. In the first inning, the Astros scored on a Hunter Pence double. Clint Barmas coming home. He had singled to make it 1-0 Houston. And there was a 5-run second. It began with a J.B. Shuck homer to right field, his first of the spring for the Ohio Stater. Anderson Hernandez got the 4th consecutive hit. That drove in a run. And then in the 4th inning, a Chris Johnson RBI single with 2 outs. And it is 8-1 Houston.
Michael Bourne continues to stand down there at third base. A chance for Brett Wallace to be a hero.
Brett's 2 for 3 with an RBI. He has scored twice today. Wallace has shown his tendency to be a very good hitter to left center and center field. Very good opposite field hitter. When he had the 7 RBI game earlier this week, he hit the grand slam to right field. So that could have been a sign that many took as something they would like to see more often from Brett.
Yeah, the one thing you don't want to do with a young hitter who's had success is get into his head too deeply. You don't want to start planting seeds of doubt, especially because he did struggle at the big league level last year. You're trying to rebuild him, trying to get back to where he was first as a college player and then as a minor leaguer. We put up great numbers. There's a lot of left-handed hitters that have made a lot of money over the years, pinging that ball to left center field and then occasionally turning on one. George Brett was awfully good at it.
Yes, he was.
Donnie Ball game, Wade Boggs.
Pete Rose had a lot of hits as a switch hitter batting left to left center. One of the major league scouts talked about that with Brett, and he said he's going to hit. He has a nice swing, but it's kind of a flat swing, so don't expect a lot of home runs out of him. He doesn't lift the ball maybe as much as some guys, but he keeps his bat playing through the zone there pretty well. And obviously his confidence has to be increasing based on the results he's getting lately in spring training games. And when you come to camp and you haven't exactly been given a job, but you have a chance to win it, it's nice to get those results in the spring and validate that opportunity. That's a strikeout for Villanueva to end the Astros 6th inning. They get a leadoff triple, but that runner is stranded. It's 8-1 Houston. It is 8-1 Houston, bottom of the 6th inning. We have several changes now for Brad Mills. He has a new first baseman. Oswaldo Navarro has taken over for Brett Wallace. Wallace was 2 for 4. He drove in a run. New shortstop is Tommy Manzella, replacing Clint Barmas, who was 1 for 4 today. We have Brian Bogusevic in left field now. J.B. Shuck has moved from left to center. Michael Bourne coming out of the game. We have a new right fielder as well, Drew Lock. And the new pitcher is Wilton Lopez. He has not allowed a hit or a walk so far this spring. There is ball 1 to Greg Dobbs. Very fine afternoon for Jay Happ with 5 innings of 4-hit 1-run baseball. The run was unearned. We'll be giving you a pitch count on him later. He had 78 pitches through 4. And finished up very well with 7 straight, retired at the end of his outing.
Outstanding numbers last year. Look at the walks. 5 walks in 67 innings. That's just incredible.
Good off-speed pitch there. It's 2 balls and a strike for Wilton Lopez, and he would figure to be the 8th inning setup man for the closer Brandon Lyon in the Astros bullpen scheme of things going into this season. He really earned that role.
The thing about Wilton, you know, he's a pitcher. You know, there's some guys in those late inning roles that come in and they're just rearing back and trying to throw it 100 miles an hour. But he's got great command. He has good movement. Typically very efficient. He's the kind of guy who can come in the 7th inning, get you out of an inning with a big double play ball, and come out and pitch a clean 8th for you and really clean up a mess and make it easier for that closer to finish off a ball game.
Last year, he worked 67 innings with the Astros. Get these numbers: 5 walks, 50 strikeouts.
Yeah, a lot of guys are shooting to try to get that 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. 10-to-1 is off the charts.
68 appearances. They had to give him a couple of weeks off toward the end of the year because the appearances had really piled up. And he's such an enthusiastic, exuberant guy. He does not want to say he's tired and can't pitch that day. That probably won't be so much of an issue now that he's been promoted, so to speak, in the bullpen to 8th inning. He didn't have that role last year until toward the end of the season. He gets a strikeout.
Yeah, and especially when you're trying to establish yourself, the last thing you want to do is you know, claim that you're unavailable on a given day. But the bottom line is you have to be willing. You have to get that relationship with the manager and the pitching coach where you can say to them, look, maybe I can give you a 1/3 of an inning today. Try to stay away from me if possible. And there are other times where you just have to flat out say, man, I can't go. My arm's hanging. I need a day, maybe 2.
Mm-hmm. Pitch is inside there, and that is ball 1 to Murphy. Most teams do have a fair amount of turnover in the bullpen from one year to the next, and that's one of the big issues of spring training, finding out where the roles should be. 1 ball, 1 strike. Did it surprise you that some of the salaries were really high for setup guys this winter among free agents?
Yeah, well, I think clubs are just they're beginning to value those power arms regardless of how they're used, whether they're 8th inning, 7th inning, or closer. And I'm a big believer in quality arms in a bullpen. And to me, I would, if I was allocating my resources, I would be willing to spend more for a 7th and 8th inning guy, and maybe not spend as much as what the norm is for a closer.
Now the sun's a real issue here. Tommy Manzella at shortstop was really fighting it, but Anderson Hernandez came in for the catch. Regular season schedule opens at Philadelphia. That road trip continues on to Cincinnati. So 2 division winners for the Astros right out of the gate. Then they open at home April 8th against Florida. That's the start of a nice 10-game homestand. You talked earlier on that promo, JD, about the interleague games. You mentioned Texas, Boston, also Tampa Bay comes into Houston, Toronto, and Texas on the road.
So just the 2 road series in interleague play this year.
Yeah. That's a little different twist. Josh Kroger is 0 for 1 with a walk.
Save your loonies and toonies going to Canada this year.
Yeah. Get out the passports. 2 balls, no strikes for Wilton Lopez. Yeah, the spot for the left-handers in the bullpen is highly open to competition right now for the Astros. And Brad Mills clued us in on that earlier. He'd love to have two lefties. It doesn't always work out that way, that you have two qualified lefties coming out of spring training.
Yeah, and you don't want to just, what you're looking for is at least one of them, a guy who can really dominate left-handed hittings, and ideally left-handed hitters, excuse me. And the other guy you would like to have who's, good against both right and left-handed hitters, not necessarily such a demon against lefties.
Strike for Lopez.
Because a lot of times the attributes that allows a guy to be so tough against left-handed hitters makes him hittable to righties. We talk about lefties that drop down. That's awfully tough on a left-handed hitter, but a right-handed hitter gets a good long look at him.
Anderson Hernandez here. For out number 3. It's a quick 6th inning. The Astros pitching has been very sturdy today. It's 8-1 Houston through 6. Red Myers made 3 consecutive opening day starts when he was with the Phillies. Now this next one here in 2011 will be against the Phillies, JD.
You don't think he'll be jacked up a little bit for that one?
A little bit. 32 consecutive quality starts in 2010, and first different opening day starter for the Astros since 2003. Roy Oswalt had a lock on that spot in the rotation. Roy probably will pitch game 3 of that series against the Astros. Chris Johnson leads it off in inning number 7. CJ 1 for 3, an RBI single in the 4th. Ball 1 to Chris. He pumps this one toward the right field line, and it's slicing away and off the wall. And it played well on the carom, but still not to prevent a double by Johnson. Just hit that ball very well to right.
Yeah, he sure did, and he's not inclined to go that way very often. I thought for sure off the bat that it was going to go foul.
Yeah, it looked like it.
That kind of a swing from a right-handed hitter. You anticipate that ball slicing away, but it really stayed pretty true, pretty straight. Also got that top hand over him.
He'll leave for a pinch runner now. After his second double of the spring, CJ exits with a 2 for 4 day.
Got a new guy.
Kiki Hernandez.
Kiki Hernandez.
Enrique Hernandez, but he goes by Kiki. And J.B. Shuck has had quite a day today. As Kiki is there at second, Shuck hopes to deliver him. He has homered, walked, and hit a fly ball to center. JB, previously known as Jack Shuck, but he prefers JB.
Kiki Hernandez over from the minor league camp. That's kind of fun for young guys. Hey, we need some bodies. Jump on the bus, come with us, and maybe you'll get in the game.
Yeah, and Delino DeShields is here today. The Astros' first-round choice last June. We'll probably see him in this game.
Plus, you get a day of big league meal money.
I bet. 1 ball, 2 strikes. In previous years, the Astros went to the Dominican Republic one year for some spring training games. Another year, they went to Venezuela. Dodgers went to China a few years ago, rolled out to second. And that gets a runner to third. Shuck is retired, but it's a productive out, as they say. Out number 1.
See if JR can cash in here. Astros had men on third. Nobody out last inning and failed to get that run across.
I'm not such a big fan of the productive out, JD, but in this case, with 2 strikes in the count, absolutely, you'll take that.
Yeah. Opportunity now for JR to the sac fly to get him home. Infield has to come in. Contact is important sometimes. Most people will tell you that strikeouts are overrated, but certainly teams that strike out a lot, unless if you're hitting the ball out of the ballpark a whole bunch, that's okay. But if you're not hitting a lot of home runs and you strike out a lot, that's a bad combination.
Lino DeShields is on deck. JR has a diving play by Wes Helms to his right, and he gets it. Sparkling effort by Wes Helms on out number 2.
Even with the infield in, Helms able to react quickly. Trademark, I guess, of a third baseman, the quick reaction. It's time towards the line. Nowhere for Kiki to go.
Pitch hitting for Houston, number 84, Delino DeShields. DeShields pitch hitting.
Now Delino DeShields. Baseball fans well remember his father, who played for many years in the big leagues. He was a left-handed hitter. So the son bats right and takes ball 1. This is his first game.
Outstanding play.
Yes, he was. Very, very speedy. And his son also has speed as a major asset. He's been a center fielder and learning second base as well. 2 balls, no strikes. This is his first appearance in an Astros spring training game. And you talk about what a thrill it is for a guy like him. Yeah, it's a rare opportunity for somebody who was just drafted a year ago. And he slaps one on the ground into right field. Gets an RBI single to make it 9-1.
Batting 1,000.
Wonder if his dad's here today. Can't remember where they live. Anyway, that's an RBI single, and hopefully he'll see it on the highlights if he's not watching now. A 9-1 ball game. The Astros have banged out 14 hits. Anderson Hernandez shoots one foul.
Second baseman Anderson.
If Hernandez is on the Astros bench, he would give them the capability of a left-handed pinch hitter, which could be important. He's a switch hitter. But the Astros are a little short of left-handed hitting this year. And he runs pretty well. Good defensive player. And that's all in the mix as far as the thinking of the top brass when it comes time to put that 25-man roster together.
Matt Downs is having a nice camp.
He sure is. Yeah, Matt's hit a couple of homers. Has some other extra base hits as well. Helms over to first. 1 run, 2 hits for the Astros. DeShields with the RBI single takes it to 9-1 Houston.
Bottom of the 7th, Astros lead the Marlins by a score of 9-1. The Astros and Action Foundation host a Fan Fest. It'll take place on opening weekend, Saturday, April 9th, Sunday, April 10th, on the main concourse at Minute Maid Park. Events include autograph sessions, talking baseball seminars, silent auctions, and the always popular garage sale of Astros memorabilia. Admission is free with your game ticket. Gates open at 11 a.m. on Saturday. It's a 6 o'clock game that night, and then 11:30 a.m. on Sunday for the 1 o'clock game. Tickets available at Astros.com at the Minute Maid Park box office or by calling 877-9-ASTROS.
We have a new third baseman in the game. He went into pinch run. Kiki Hernandez is the third. Chris Johnson started at that position. Had a couple of hits today. And the new pitcher is Enario Del Rosario. We heard about him earlier from the skipper. Brad Mills was telling us that he has been so impressed by this 25-year-old right-hander who was claimed on waivers by the Astros last September and pitched in a few games. He had been with Cincinnati, pitched in 11 major league games last year, and this spring he has been lighting it up with an ERA of 0.
Maybe he could be this year's Wilton Lopez.
Good point. A sinker and a good changeup are staples for Del Rosario, who has pitched 8 1/3 innings this spring. He's given up 5 hits, no runs with 1 walk and 7 strikeouts. Very good numbers for Del Rosario, who's from the Dominican Republic.
Originally signed by the Reds back in 05, worked his way up through their system. First tasted the big leagues in Cincinnati last year.
Ed Wade's made several waiver acquisitions since he took over in 07 as the Astros general manager. Vital stats on Enario Del Rosario. He's making a very strong bid to be one of the Astros relievers 2 weeks from today in Philadelphia. One and 2 the count.
Unfortunately, Alberto Arias, who was so good 2 years ago, has not really made any progress. Limited progress.
Yeah.
We'll get that cranky shoulder straightened out.
Bonifacio's on deck with Cousins batting.
That was a good changeup.
Yes. No strikeout.
And we talk about the need for left-handed options in the bullpen. The other way to go, of course, if you don't think you've got 2 lefties capable, a righty with a good changeup can really neutralize left-handed hitting as well.
I've seen that happen a few times over the years. Emilio Bonifacio's 1 for 3. Tim Burdack, of course, served the Astros well the last few years as one of the key lefties in the bullpen. Usually he was the late inning guy. He's now with the New York Mets. One ball, 1 strike. It's 2-1. The Astros have won 8 and lost 14 this spring. A win today would give them a 3-game winning streak, which would be their first of the spring. A little tap goes to first. Ozzie Navarro takes care of out number 2.
You see that they're going to honor Terry Cashman at the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies this year?
No.
He's the fellow that wrote that Talking Baseball song.
Yeah.
Really, Mickey and the Duke.
Yeah. Okay. How are they going to honor him?
Kind of like last year, they had John Fogerty there singing center field.
Oh, that's right.
Cashman's going to perform, and
That's a great idea.
Beyond that, what they're going to do.
Great idea.
He was a minor league pitcher. I did not know that. Under a different name. And when he wrote the song, he wanted to get Joe D in there. He wanted to get Joe DiMaggio into that part with Willie and Mickey, and he just couldn't make it work.
Okay.
And so then he settled on Willie, Mickey, and the Duke as the signature phrase in that song. And then he throws a little Joe D in there somewhere else in the song.
Okay. That was smooth music. Del Rosario feels the comebacker and makes it a quick 1-2-3 seventh inning with the Astros up 9-1.
Nine to 1 ball game, top of the eighth here. The Astros to bat here in Jupiter, Florida. Roger Dean Stadium, home of the Florida Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals here in spring training. And speaking of homes, the Astros will visit Oklahoma City, the new home of the AAA club. And they'll play the Red Hawks on Tuesday, March 29th as the Astros work their way back to Houston. It's a 6:30 ball game in Oklahoma City. You can get tickets for that game at Astros.com or OKCRedHawks.com. That might be a fun road trip to go up there and watch the Astros play the AAA club.
You bet it would be. 9-1 Astros. Edward Mujica is the new pitcher. He came from the San Diego Padres in a trade for Cameron Maben in the offseason. Brian Bogusevic leading it off and taking a strike there. Mujica 2-1 with a 3.62 ERA. And Bogusevic got some chances to play for the Astros last year, late in the season.
Mujica part of that very talented Padre bullpen last year. Boy, they were lights out. Big part of the success of the Padres in 2010. And Maben was a guy who was supposed to be the center fielder of the future here.
Yes.
Didn't work out.
Bogusevic taps out. There's out number one. John Rayner's the new left fielder for the Fish. Tommy Manzella bats for the first time. He took over at shortstop for Clint Barmas. Tommy has really concentrated on learning the different infield positions. After being a shortstop last year, he's now a shortstop, a second baseman, a third baseman, a first baseman. Those are all the positions he's been working at anyway, as he tries to make the club in a different role rather than the everyday shortstop role. .225, one homer, 21 runs batted in last year for Tommy. Tommy as Brian Bogusevic, both playing at Tulane.
Well, if you can play shortstop in the big leagues, that means you have plenty of range and good hands. And so you can play just about anywhere in the infield with those skills.
Yeah, see many a shortstop move to another position. He hits this one foul on a line just above that hillside. It's too comfortable to move down there. Tommy will turn 28 in mid-April from Chalmette, Louisiana.
She's going to have bright red legs and then pasty white the rest of the program.
Don't you hate it when you go to the beach and fall asleep on one side and you're just scorched on the other side?
Yeah. Of course, if she were to flip over, all the blood would rush to her head and she'd just be a mess.
A little chop back toward the mound. Mujica. 2 down. Yeah, you mentioned that Padre bullpen being so good last year. Mujica and another relief pitcher came in that trade from Maben. It would seem that the Marlins really did well in that deal. Of course, Maben might turn out to be quite a player too for the Padres. And right now, with Chris Coughlin, who was a former second baseman and third baseman last year, moving to left field, ranking as the guy they hope to be the center fielder, that's kind of a stretch too for this club. Drew Lock has hit well this spring at .348, driving in 3. Mujica throws one over the edge. 1 ball, 1 strike. Locke has shown good power in the Astros minor leagues. This one goes over shortstop to left center field, and it's caught on the run. John Rayner there for the 3rd out. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. The score 9-1 Houston. The Astros lead at 9-1. They've out-hit the Fish 14-4 today. Bill Brown and Jim Deshaies is with you. Glad you're with us for this first of 2 consecutive Astros telecasts from spring training. We have more changes now. Ross Wolf on the mound as the bottom of the 8th inning approaches. And he will be pitcher number 4 for the Astros. Jay Happ went the first 5. Wilson Lopez pitched a spotless inning. And Ariel Del Rosario at a 1-2-3 frame. And now it's Wolf. And there's the first pitch, a little bit in tight for ball 1 to Wes Helms. Wolf is 28 years old. He's from Effingham, Illinois. He's had 9 years in the minor leagues. Last year pitched for Oakland 11 games. And he was at AAA Sacramento and at Norfolk as well. An 18th round pick of the Marlins in '02. Those are the numbers for Ross this spring. Fly ball heads for left field. Brian Bogusevic moving over.
Stay with it.
Yeah, it's not an easy assignment today. 1 down.
Guys are probably watering pretty good right about now. Ross Wolf, veteran, many years in the minor leagues. No relation to Randy Wolf. He's right-handed. Randy's left, so they're not related.
Well, Ross pitched for the Marlins in '07 14 times. Oh, that situation. Sanchez flies up into the seats. And that is strike one. Clint Salmons, the catcher's on deck. New catcher in the game for the Astros is Carlos Corporan. A lot of guys like Ross Wolf have put up good numbers to this point of the spring. He's been in 4 games. He's worked 7 innings. Walked 2 and fanned 2. Certainly nothing to disqualify him to this point, but it's going to get to the point that numbers alone will not put somebody on a major league ball club in a couple of weeks. There are going to be some people who have performed well in the spring, and there's just not room for them on every team.
Right, just one of those guys signed to provide some depth. Most likely will go to AAA, but again, a good camp. I want to leave that memory fresh in the minds of Brad Mills, Ed Wade, Brad Arnsberg, the decision makers, should there be a need later on in the season.
Yeah, for those decision makers, it goes way beyond just picking 12 men or so for the pitching staff. They have to go further than that to have that depth at AAA. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Remember the last time a team did not promote a pitcher from the minor leagues all year? It probably has never happened, right?
Not to my knowledge. Maybe back in the 1910s or something.
Yeah, maybe then. So after the walk, we get a pinch runner at first base for Gabby Sanchez.
Somebody knows. Somebody will send an email.
Oh, yeah.
1913.
We'll hear about it. It's nice to throw those things out there because we have so many good researchers who go to work. You're probably right. Back in that era, that may have been the case. Now Clint Salmons, formerly with the Atlanta Braves, doing the catching right now, takes a strike. John Buck, the starting catcher today, gave way to Salmons. 222 for him this spring. 1 ball and 1 strike. It's 1-2.
So why is Lance Berkman making the trip tomorrow? Did he lose a bet?
Don't know.
To make that long bus ride.
You know, and they, I think, reading some notes that they have a home game here as well, split squad day. So, yeah, it's kind of curious.
Just want to come up and say hi to some folks.
Well, he might. You know, he was going to make a trip earlier, maybe a week or so ago, and he was scratched from that one. So that could be it. Watching a little bit of the Cardinal telecast yesterday. Colby Rasmus was on TV with the Cardinal broadcasters. He was very high in his praise for Lance and what he's done to help him. Rasmus, a left-handed batter. Lance bats left most of the time, so they could talk about facing certain right-handers. A looping single out into right center field. Marlins had not had a hit since they got 2 singles in the 3rd inning. Pretty good stretch of pitching work for the Astros in that span of time. Hit number 5 of the day for them. And they have something working here with 2 men on now. Greg Dobbs, the batter. Dobbs had the RBI single in the 3rd when they scored the run. 1 for 3. Manzella gets it to second. There's the turn, and the Astros get a double play to get out of the 8th inning. No runs, a hit, and a man stranded. After 8, it is 9-1 Houston.
We move to the 9th inning. The Astros lead the Marlins by a score of 9-1. A reminder that the opening day 3-game hot pack is the easiest way to lock in the best available seats to the hottest games of the season. You get opening day, you get the Rangers, you get the Red Sox. Plans start at just $21. Operators are anxiously standing by. 1-800-ASTROS-2 or the website astros.com. Ring them up. Ask them how they're doing. Buy some tickets.
I'd love to chat with you. Wes Helms has moved across the diamond to first base now. There's a new third baseman. He is Tim Torres. The closer, Leo Nunez, is out for the 9th inning. His first pitch misses down and away. Ball 1 to Oswaldo Navarro.
Called in to protect this 9-1 deficit is Leo Nunez, wiry right-hander. Rush it up there, mid-90s.
Navarro lines one to left. That's a sinking line drive that is caught. They're out number 1.
Good swing. Was hit really well.
John Rayner with a good play. Yeah, that looked like a hit off the bat. Rayner.
Probably have to contend with sinking line drive like that, though, than a high fly ball. A day like today.
Strike 1. Kiki Hernandez, the batter.
Do you know what happened on this date in baseball history?
No.
Yeah, we like to look at this during the season a lot because a lot of times it's very important historical events or great performances. But you know, in the middle of March, you don't typically get that. But on this date in 1958, according to this website, in a move to change their image, the Dodgers announced that clown Emmett Kelly will not perform in 1958.
No.
I didn't know Emmett had a gig with the Dodgers prior to that. See,
well, first of all, yeah, we learned that. Secondly, when you announce that somebody will not perform, that's a little unusual.
Breaking news out of Dodgertown in 1958. Wow. Emmett Kelly. Well, because of the lovable losers and the bums and all that, they probably figured it was time to disassociate themselves from clowns.
Sure. Sharp single through the left side by Kiki Hernandez. Kicked around a little bit, but no real damage done. 15 hits for the Astros. Now Don Mattingly is the Dodgers skipper going into this season. 11 games left. 6 will be in Kissimmee, and then that Oklahoma City game you told us about earlier, and then home for the Red Sox game at Minute Maid Park, and opening day takes us to Philadelphia this year.
Astros almost always open at home. And schedule tweaked a little bit this year. Opening on a Friday is fairly unique.
That's true. Chris Wallace, the batter, he's got that face bar on. No balls, 2 strikes to Chris. I don't know if he was hit in the face by a pitch or why he's wearing that today. Usually that's the reason a batter would wear something like that. This roller goes to shortstop. That's turned into out number 2.
Either that or he's going to be the lead blocker on the sweep.
Season tickets available for you as we get ever closer to opening day. Just 2 weeks from today. That's going to go by really quickly for a lot of folks. Now Carlos Corporan will come up with 2 outs. It'll be his first trip to the plate. Astros just picking him up once spring training started to help their catching depth. And he has done well in 15 at-bats. He's had 7 hits for a .467 batting average. Ball 1 to Corporan. Carlos, 27 years old. He's from Puerto Rico, drafted by Milwaukee in '03. Played at Reno last season. Two balls, no strikes to Corporan. He's had one major league at bat, and that was in 09, and he got a hit.
Yeah, you might want to sit on that. Lifetime batting average of 1,000.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he's willing to risk it for some big league ABs.
Goes up the right field line, headed toward those fans up on the grassy area. They'll scramble for it.
Gee, somebody make a play down there. The lady that was on the ground has moved up to the seat so she can maintain her leg tan.
Nunez found that one getting away from him a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of people out there trying to make a play, but everybody comes up empty, and the guy who hangs back is able to recover the fumble. A lot of dejected folks there had a shot at it, and they had their gloves too. Another chance.
Yeah, another foul ball in that same area, and the guy didn't even have to leave his seat to make that play.
I'm not so sure that leaving his seat was even an option.
Another casual snag.
Pretty well settled in there.
I've heard of atom balls, but that's a little ridiculous when they're seated and it's atom. Foul tip, and that's a strikeout to end the Astros' ninth inning with no runs a hit and a man left. It's 9-1 Houston. The Astros lead at 9-1. They have banged out 15 hits to Florida's 5. We go to the bottom of the ninth inning now, and it's Wesley Wright on the mound for the Astros. Brian Esposito is the new catcher, warming up the left-hander. And he is coming off a 1-2 record last season for the Astros, a 5.73 ERA. He tried to change things as far as the way he was used, from reliever to starter. And went to the minor leagues to work on that. Now he's back in that relief role again this year, JD.
Right, and that another change now, trying to change his delivery so he could become more effective against left-handed batters, try to carve out a role as a left-handed specialist. We'll see how it goes here this afternoon. You got to love the creativity here and the willingness by Wesley to try. You know, he went from reliever to starter, and now continues to try to establish himself at the big league level, trying to another little wrinkle in.
Yes. Our director, Paul Bykowski, got that shot of the catcher, Brian Esposito. Brian's a veteran catcher, many campaigns or that is Carlos Corcoran. I thought it was Esposito, but it's not. Anyway, he sets up a nice low target like Brian Esposito. That might have been why I thought it was Brian, but anyway, that's something a lot of pitchers really like. Sits very close to the ground.
Yeah, get kind of and get small, you know, kind of try to create a visual for the pitcher where you're just trying to funnel the ball to that glove. Like Steve Martin. Let's get small.
Let's get small. Let's look how low he gets. Yeah. Whoa!
Oh, look out.
The bat got away from him, and John Rayner had to scramble out of the way from the on-deck circle. Bat wound up on the screen. Very, very unfortunate injuries for Brian McCann hitting that foul ball off of Luis Salazar. This is one of the tough things we've seen in many years in a spring training game. He was apparently on the top step of the dugout. His eye was removed.
Yeah, that's just horrific injury.
Oh.
Years ago, Matt Keogh got whacked by a line drive in spring training. Almost died.
Yeah, that's right. I'd forgotten that. He played briefly with the Astros, right?
Yeah, in '86.
That's right.
We talk about Wesley trying to make the comeback here. Matt Keogh had a very successful major league career, but he was trying to come back, trying to hang on as a knuckleballer back then.
When was he with you guys in '86? Middle of the season?
I don't remember. I know he pitched the game after we clinched.
Oh, okay.
Kind of the sacrificial lamb because we clinched and then the party plane went to Atlanta and somebody had to pitch the next day and everybody was gassed and not overly motivated. But Matt, a good veteran, went out there and had a solid effort.
Oh, that's hit hard. And that ball really scorched into the corner in left field. Donnie Murphy into second base.
And see, this is what we're talking about with that lefty side-on delivery. Tough on left-handed hitters, that's the theory anyway, but righties typically get a good look at him, and it's tough to evaluate. You're taking a look at Wesley here, you'd love to see him face some left-handed hitters. Of course, he could enhance his chances if he can prove effective against righties as well from down there. Maybe turn the ball over, get it to sink a little bit, run it away from the righties.
John Rayner comes up. He made that nice catch earlier. Strike one to Rayner. Mike Stanton has been out. He has not played in a single Major League spring training game for the Florida Marlins. He's been playing in some minor league games, but he is going to be a huge key as far as the Marlins offense goes, and he's a good defensive player as well. Right fielder. 20 years old. Made quite a splash last year when he came to the big leagues, and just talking around the batting cage with two Hall of Famers, Andre Dawson and Tony Perez, who are in the Marlins organization, and hearing their remarks about Mike Stanton. We saw him briefly last year, but he is one of the top talents in the game today as far as young players who are just coming up.
And we saw him last year with the Marlins, and we've heard about him the previous 2 seasons or so, just the prolific home run numbers in the minor leagues and the Bunyan-esque stories about his power, how far he hits the ball when he really lays into one.
Yeah, that's what Andre Dawson talked about. He talked about his power to right field. That was hit toward right field, and Drew Lock moving in for the catch. And he said, I haven't seen that kind of power to right field by right-handed hitters since Dale Murphy.
Bo Jackson comes to mind too.
Yeah.
Here's Wesley featuring a little bit in his drop down. That time not quite as exaggerated as some of the other ones. You see what he does now with a left-handed hitter up there. This is where you really want to be able to really drop down and to give the impression that you're coming from behind the hitter and get him to bail a little bit.
Scott Cousins, the batter now, with a runner at second and 1 down. and taking strike one out. Last year, Mike Stanton, who's now 21, hit 22 homers in 359 at-bats.
One of those guys, it's fun to watch him take BP, put on a show.
No balls, 2 strikes. Logan Morrison figures to be the left fielder. He's a converted first baseman and a left-handed batter. He's banged up now too. So really none of the 3 guys who were, well, not penciled in. They were written in ink to be the opening day outfield in this game today, and maybe not for a while yet. Stanton's had a quadriceps injury, and a pretty bad one that's kept him out of games. So you'd have to think the Marlins would love to see him play at least that final week as they try to nurse him through. But it's the long haul you have to think about if you're a general manager and a manager right now.
Yeah, and especially with a young player, because, you know, we talked earlier about the excitement for opening day and the beginning of the season, and young players, you know, they really want to be on that roster and they want to be out there on opening day. But sometimes you got to tell them, look, no, let's be cautious here. Let's make sure we've got you for, you know, the bulk of the season. We rush you back, you might blow it out and be done for a month and a half.
You bet. Still 1-2 for Wesley Wright. And Corporan talk it over. Wesley, 26 years old now. He's from Montgomery, Alabama. A Dodger product. The Astros got him in the Rule 5 draft before the 08 season. He goes to 2 balls, 2 strikes. Wesley is 8-9 as a major leaguer. He's been with the Astros in 08, 09, and last year. Set a club record for a rookie for appearances in the first half in his rookie season. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
He set the rookie record for first half appearances?
Yeah, did you even realize they had a record for that? Well, he made 44 appearances in the first half of the season, 71 for the whole year. Wonder what the record is for rookie appearances in April. We don't know that, do we? Little tap goes foul, first base side. Well, we've had a chance to hear from Brad Mills today and Ed Wade, so if you've been with us all afternoon, hopefully you've learned quite a bit about the Astros in spring training 2011. Be back home for that game on the 30th with the Red Sox. Very attractive game as far as an end of spring training type affair, to see teams that are playing their last game before it counts. Carl Crawford coming back home. 2 hopper to first. That takes care of out number 2 for Wesley Wright, with Navarro making the play. And just a top-notch Red Sox lineup of crushers. Wow, what will that team do offensively this year?
Well, yeah, adding Crawford and Adrian Gonzalez to that bunch, that's, seems to be where the smart money is in the American League right now.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to watch. Bonifacio singled his first time up, but he is 1 for 4 today. And there's ball 1. So the Astros open against the Philadelphia Phillies, one of the strong teams in baseball. Certainly being expected by many to go back to a World Series. Up the middle, and that's an RBI single to make it 9-2. Bonifacio connects. Then we go play the young and talented Cincinnati Reds, who won the NL Central before coming back home to play the Fish, who are usually a very competitive team. That's a difficult opening stretch, isn't it?
Yeah, and you think back to last year when the Astros started 0-8, Brad Mills' rookie campaign as a major league manager. So they're thinking, well, if you get off to a better start next year, that'll be good. But it certainly sets up to be a difficult start. You have to deal with that Philly pitching, then go into Cincinnati, and then when you come back to play the Marlins, their rotation is flipped over. Maybe you run into Josh Johnson. They're going to be up against some very good pitching.
Bad.
But you know what? It's the big leagues. That's what happens. You run into a lot of really good pitching.
ball and 1 strike.
If you're going to be a good team, you've got to beat good pitchers.
Manzella with a high hop gets it onto second base for the force play, and the Astros put together a solid game today, winning it 9-2. Picking up 15 hits along the way. We'll be back with more as the Astros have won their 3rd straight, 9-1 Houston. Two, 15